Chapter 543. Chapter 543. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete. Chapter 543. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete. Lease, reading on Zavel. Overestimating one's abilities. A chill sparkled in the corner of Lu Yun's eyes, emitting a frightful cold light. Though he speaks low, it doesn't mean he is easy to offend. Then an overwhelming power surged forth, hammering fiercely onto the overbearing young man. It sent him flying backward, tumbling down the ascension steps. Pooh! The golden-robed young man flew from ascension step, thudding onto the golden great Tao. Several bones in his body were broken, and he was unable to recover for a while. This scene was witnessed by many heavenly prides who were climbing the ascension steps. Fu Tianjiao always relies on his status as a disciple of the Origin Martial Academy, and he's extremely domineering. Apart from a few saint children, he doesn't respect anyone else. It seems he finally met his match this time. Humph, he deserves it. These heavenly prides were all lingering around the 9,000 step, having previously been affected by Fu Tianjiao and almost falling off the ascension steps. Now, after seeing Fu Tianjiao's experience, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. How can that person be so powerful? Fu Tianjiao seemed to be oblivious to the pain in his body, his eyes filled with disbelief. Honestly, up to now, he still didn't know who had attacked him. He merely saw these heavenly prides climbing too slowly on the ascension steps, unworthy of being called heavenly prides. So he took the opportunity to drive away some ordinary lot. Unexpectedly, he met a hard nut to crack. He carefully recalled that around the 9,200 step, there was suddenly a burst of intense power. As for who was behind the attack, he didn't see clearly, or one could say, the arrogant him didn't bother to glance at those people. After attacking the person who offended him and knocking him down from the ascension steps, Lu Yun continued to slowly advance. After stepping on the 9,999th step, it was as if he had ascended to the 9 heavens and entered a brand new area. At the same time, a golden radiance sprinkled down from the sky above, integrating into the bodies of every heavenly pride who had reached the peak of the ascension steps. We're here. This is the Skywall City. I never imagined that one day I, Shi Paotian, could ascend to the Skywall City. In the future, my descendants will worship me. Feeling the intense spiritual power coming from all directions, each heavenly pride was extremely excited. Lu Yun too chose not to resist, bathing under the golden light, gradually feeling the rejection from the Skywall City towards himself weakening. Congratulations, everyone, on passing the test of the ascension steps. An elder standing with his hands behind his back on a floating rock, overlooking the many heavenly prides who had just ascended the Skywall City, his eyes flashing with golden light like a brilliant blazing flame. From now on, no matter what achievements you get in the Heavenly Pride Convention, you are all Marine's heavenly prides, true heavenly prides, shining for all eternity. As his words fell, a magnificent steel slowly rose up amidst the colorful light, standing tall in the sky like a gateway to heaven. Despite being a steel, the whole body was faintly golden, as if cast by divine gold. Many orderly runes were inscribed on it, looking majestic and impressive, piercing the sky. This is the heavenly pride steel. Those who leave their names on this steel can freely move in and out of Skywall City without any restrictions. The elder casually remarked, "Heavenly pride steel, here I come." Thereafter, heavenly prides flew towards the heavenly pride steel one by one, transforming into rainbows, preparing to engrave their names on the steel one after another. Clearly, being able to move freely in and out of Skywall City had a huge attraction for all the heavenly prides. Why can I only fly up to 10 meters high? and no higher. The first young man who flew towards the heavenly pride steel quickly noticed something unusual. No matter how much true origin he stimulated and rules he employed, he always stayed 10 meters high on the heavenly pride steel. This seemed to be his limit, and he was unable to break through. Not only him, but also other heavenly prides became aware that leaving their names on the heavenly pride steel was not as simple as they thought. 30 meters, is this my limit? A heavenly pride in the middle of the rune seed realm seemed unable to believe it. Another one of his realm had already flown to the place 40 meters high, a whole 10 meters higher than him, which made him very unwilling. It looks like the height of leaving one's name on the heavenly pride steel is related to the realm and potential of the heavenly pride. Shen Miaoi murmured in another direction, and an astonishing light was shining in her beautiful and dazzling eyes. Next to her stood a girl of tender years with an extraordinary flair and an air of fairy grace. This girl was Shen Miaoi's old rival, Fan Feiyu. Her red lips slightly opened. You've always wanted to compete with me, right? Let's see whose name can reach the highest point on the heavenly pride list. As she finished speaking, her graceful figure flashed and flew towards the heavenly pride steel. In an instant, she had exceeded 100 meters high, and her speed only then started to slow down. At this moment, a purple glow blossomed from Fan Feiyu's back, a pair of wings spreading out, emitting a multicolored light. With a slight tremble, her speed increased again. 200 meters, 300 meters. Under the amazed eyes of all the heavenly prides, Fan Feiyu quickly arrived at the 500-meter place of the heavenly pride steel. Only then did her speed begin to slow down. Nonetheless, she was still rapidly ascending, finally stopping at a height of 666 meters. As her slender jade-like fingers were waving, points of light floated on the golden steel, and they glided across it smoothly like the flowing water. Suddenly, sounds of clicking resonated, and the runes on the steel started flickering. They outlined 3 large characters. Fan Feiyu. The golden letters were surrounded by dazzling lights and contained Tao rhymes, which made it look incredibly noble. Chapter 544. Chapter 544. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete _2. Chapter 544. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete _2 lease. Reading on Zavel. Not only is Sister Feiyu beautiful and strong, but her handwriting is also so pretty. Shen Miaoi slightly pursed her lips and smiled, her enchanting figure floating out and quickly ascending along the heavenly pride steel. Her speed was extremely fast, quickly surpassing other heavenly prides and reaching a distance of over 150 m. Such a result was enough to make her look down on any heavenly pride listed on the heavenly pride list, but compared to Fan Feiyu's 660, there was still a great distance. Under the astonished gaze of the rest of the heavenly prides, Shen Miaoi's graceful body suddenly bloomed with brilliant aura, continuously causing her aura to surge dramatically. She broke her limit again and soared up the heavenly pride list rapidly until she broke through 600 m and finally started slowing down. In the end, she arrived at the 670 m mark on the heavenly pride steel, engraved in the refined and elegant name. Hee, I've won by a margin, haven't I? Shen Miaoi playfully laughed as she looked at Fan Feiyu. Fan Feiyu, however, just raised her eyebrows slightly with no major fluctuation in her gaze and coldly said, "This heavenly pride steel is just a place to leave one's name. It doesn't represent anything." My little sister is so stubborn. Shen Miaoi still had a faint smile on her face, seemingly not surprised by Fan Feiyu's reaction. After that, more heavenly prides took the stage one after another. As the Heavenly Pride steel made its debut, and they would be the first batch to have their names listed on it, they would likely leave a lasting legacy. Hence, they all did their best to make a mark at higher places and achieve everlasting fame. Unfortunately, it seemed that 500M was the limit for everyone, and hardly any of the Heavenly Prides could break through this limit. Most of the Heavenly Prides hovered between 100M and 300M, and those who managed to break through 300M were all well-known and powerful figures in the 9 provinces. As for reaching a height of 400M, their martial arts realm had almost reached the limit of the rune seed realm. It was a bit of a surprise that even the cool-loving Qin Feng managed to leave his name at the height of 450M on the Heavenly Pride steel. This was because Qin Feng's cultivation level was only at the mid-rune seed realm. Thus his realm was undoubtedly much lower compared to the other Heavenly Prides. Of course, so far the most eye-catching were the names left by Fan Feiyu and Shun Miaoi on the Heavenly Pride steel. Especially for Shun Miaoi, her elegant and attractive 3-character name was prominently placed at 670M, an entire 100 to 200 meters higher than the other Heavenly Prides. Looking at the Heavenly Pride steel's rankings, it was evident that the gap between Heavenly Prides and martial arts academies saints was like a chasm difficult to overcome. At this moment, a soft and arrogant female voice sounded. "Let me see what's so mysterious about this Heavenly Pride steel." Xiao Qingyu stepped out of the crowd, her red long skirt accentuating her tall, slender figure. Her stunning face was enveloped in a colorful glow, giving an overwhelmingly dazzling impression. With a gentle movement, she was surrounded by flames like a spirit spiraling up around the golden Heavenly Pride steel. This phenomenon and her speed astonished many onlookers. No wonder she is the darling of the Xiao family, a super martial arts family in Wu Province. Her strength is probably not much weaker than the 2 martial arts academy saintesses. Quite a few Heavenly Prides couldn't help but sigh. In their hometowns, they were all esteemed Heavenly Prides with inherent nobility. However, now they had to admit that they fell short compared to these saints and talented individuals from super families. Of course, this only applied to their background and current strength. When it came to their true potential and the future, they would never admit defeat. Wow, Xiao Qingyu has broken through the 500M mark. She's so fast. This is far from her limit. Just watch and see. As Xiao Qingyu was already extremely beautiful, and now displaying her astonishing strength, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. Hee, looks like we have another potential rival. There was a different light in Shun Miaoya's beautiful eyes. Soon, in the amazed gazes of everyone, Xiao Qingyu broke through the 600M height of the Heavenly Pride steel once again. Finally, after flying to a distance of 645M, she reached her limit. It seems there is still some gap between me and those two. Xiao Qingyu's eyes revealed a hint of disappointment, but she quickly recovered. After leaving her name, she transformed into a fluttering fire spirit and landed in the crowd. "Well done, Qingyu." Seeing the hidden disappointment in Xiao Qingyu's eyes, Xiao Yun gently comforted her, but it seemed to have little effect. Xiao Yun just shook his head slightly, and then his figure flashed, turning into a beam of light like a comet bursting with a dazzling light, charging towards the heavenly steel. The moment he moved, more than 100 figures also set off. Among them, there were 3 who raced alongside him, ascending towards the top ranks of the Heavenly Pride steel. Look, Wu Province's first Heavenly Pride. Xiao Yun has finally made his move. The first person of Qing Province's super family, the Yi family's younger generation, Yi Xingxuan has also begun to exert his strength. And there's the Martial Arts Academy's Saint Child, Deng Wuqing. The rest of the Heavenly Prides let out exclamations. No matter if it were Xiao Yun, Yi Xingxuan, or Deng Wuqing, they were all illustrious figures, especially Yi Xingxuan, who had swept through the younger generation of heavenly prides in Qing province 5 years ago, pressuring everyone. Then he fought in Wu province, and no one could stop him. In the end, it was Xiao Yun who barely managed to fight him to a draw. Chapter 545. Chapter 545. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete _3. Chapter 545. Chapter 291. Leaving a name on the heavenly pride steel, all monsters compete _3 lease. Reading on Zavel. Such a record, and the fame it brought are even more impressive than the achievements of those cultivated saint children and saintesses. 5 years later, today, when he finally re-emerged, it's natural for all the heavenly prides who have heard of his reputation to look forward to his performance. After 5 years of silence and diligent cultivation, Yi Xingxuan's strength and temperament have undergone earth-shaking changes. After going all out, he quickly broke through the 150 m height of the heavenly pride steel. For other heavenly prides, this is an insurmountable limit. But for Yi Xingxuan, it's an easy feat to surpass, with no difficulty at all. Of course, there are 3 figures closely following him at this moment. Their speed not much slower than his. It's interesting. 3 heavenly prides that can compete with me suddenly appeared. Deng Wuqing laughed loudly. Then a shocking saber intent erupted from his body. His whole person seemed to transform into a saber as his speed soared, quickly surpassing Xiao Yun and another beautiful figure. With the eruption of saber intent, his speed became faster and faster, soon breaking through the 150 m height of the heavenly pride steel and catching up with Yi Xingxuan, then surpassing him. There's still a month left before the Heavenly Pride Convention officially begins, and we've already encountered so many powerful opponents. Xiao Yun chuckled. Then his body was enveloped by intense runes, increasing his speed dramatically as he chased after Yi Xingxuan and Deng Wuqing in front. Although Yi Xingxuan's character isn't as arrogant as before, becoming calmer instead, it doesn't mean that he can calmly let others surpass him. The star robe fluttered. Then the powerful force of the stars exploded, transforming into a star and flying up the heavenly pride steel with a speed that approached the extreme. No wonder they're the well-known superworld heavenly prides. Even the Martial Academy's Saint Child, Deng Wuqing, has been slightly suppressed. The other heavenly prides couldn't help exclaiming as they watched Xiao Yun and Yi Xingxuan successively explode with power. The Martial Academy's Saint Child and Saintess were the benchmarks for their generation of heavenly prides. Other heavenly prides, no matter how monstrous, would instantly lose their brilliance in front of these saints. But now, Xiao Yun and Yi Xingxuan were neither inferior to Deng Wuqing, nor were they overshadowed by him, even slightly surpassing him. I heard that Yi Xingxuan was defeated by that guy in one move. I thought it would be a terrible defeat. Shen Miaoya's beautiful eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Humph! How many people of our generation can withstand his single move? Fan Feiyu, who was beside her, spoke indifferently, mentioning that person made even Shen Miaoyi and Fan Feiyu, these 2 heavenly pride women, unable to rise any fighting spirit. Because that person was just too monstrous. Unlike others, Lu Yun's gaze fell on another beautiful figure. Although she was not as fast as Xiao Yun, Yi Xingxuan, or Deng Wuqing, she maintained the same speed from the beginning, breaking through the 150 m and 180 m heights of the heavenly pride steel. Soon, this figure, which almost kept pace with Xiao Yun and the others, was also noticed by other heavenly prides. Who is that woman? She is very powerful, reaching the 195 m height of the heavenly pride steel so quickly, even surpassing Xiao Qingyu. She is Nangong Shui, the disciple of my Nangong family from Yang province. A heavenly pride from Yang province proudly said. So it's a disciple of the Nangong family. Someone in the crowd seemed to have thought of something and sighed. Rumor has it that the Nangong family has produced a monstrous talent. She started martial arts at the age of 8, gold body at 12, rune seed at 15, and golden core at 18. It seems that the rumors were not false. The middle-aged man standing on the floating reef stone looked at Nangong Shui and the others, whispering in an almost inaudible voice, "These aristocratic families have inherited for thousands of years, and their foundation is endless. From time to time, they produce a monstrous talent, stunning a generation. Now, before the Heavenly Pride Convention officially begins, Yi Xingxuan, Xiao Yun, and Nangong Shui, 3 monstrous talents have appeared. How many more monstrous talents will there be when the Heavenly Pride Convention officially begins? Or will there be even more stunning talents?" Chapter 546, Chapter 546, Chapter 292, Ascending to the Peak, Tianyong City Trembles. Chapter 546, Chapter 292, Ascending to the Peak, Tianyong City Trembles. Lise, reading on Zavel. Am in front of the Heavenly Pride stele. The eyes of many Heavenly Prides were drawn to the 4 chasing figures. Xiao Yun's momentum continued to grow, becoming increasingly terrifying as the surrounding air currents were nearly conquered by the scorching flames. On the other side, Yi Xingchen was the same, his pores wide open, and the power of the stars surged, as if he had become a constellation, shining across the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Deng Wuqing, on the other hand, had an even more violent saber intent, battling the heavens and earth, bridging the sky. "Sister, don't hold back, burst forth." In the distance, Nangongwan whispered to herself. Several Heavenly Prides beside her, who apparently knew the Nangong sisters, congratulated. "Congratulations! After today, Nangong Shui will surely make a great name for herself in Morijin, and the status and fame of the Nangong family will be further elevated. I really can't imagine that Nangong Shui can now compete alongside Xiao Yun and Yi Xingxuan, the 2 notorious evildoers of their time. Even without the title of saintess, she is actually a saintess in reality." Another Heavenly Pride nodded. Boom! Deng Wuqing condensed his palm into a saber, and the surging saber intent, carrying an unparalleled aura, slashed upwards, creating a terrifying and tide-like momentum. At this moment, his sharp edge was unparalleled, with nothing able to obstruct him, surpassing the others in one fell swoop and breaking through the 700 zhang barrier of the Heavenly Pride stele. He can still continue to break the limit. Deng Wuqing is so powerful, worthy of being one of Martial Academy's saint children. With a buzzing sound, almost at the same time as Deng Wuqing broke the limit and surpassed the 700 zhang height of the Heavenly Pride stele, a large swath of red twilight rose from Xiao Yun's spot, like a phoenix reborn from the flames, erupting with unparalleled rule fluctuations. He raised his right palm and pressed it up, with the rune in the center of his palm flickering with an astonishing flame, revealing a mysterious and ancient rune. The Heavenly Pride stele wobbled slightly. Then Xiao Yun also broke his own limit, instantly exceeding the 700 zhang height of the Heavenly Pride stele, rising in a straight line, stopping only at the 723rd zhang. He looked at Deng Wuqing, who was at the same point as him, also at the 720th zhang, unable to move forward anymore. At this height, in the Heavenly Pride list, every extra breath persisted would cause immense pressure, as if their bodies and souls would be torn apart. So, without any hesitation, Xiao Yun left his name at the 723rd zhang of the Heavenly Pride stele, and then returned. 723 zhang. All the Heavenly Prides were shocked by Xiao Yun's achievement on the Heavenly Pride stele. Based on the previous records of the Heavenly Prides, they could vaguely guess that the achievements on the Heavenly Pride stele were closely related to talent and strength. Previously, Saintesses Shen Miaoi and Fan Feishue had left their names only at around the 650 zhang height of the heavenly pride stele. In other words, Xiao Yun's comprehensive talent and strength were above the two saintesses. Thinking of this, the heavenly prides couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Xiao Yun rose to fame 5 years ago and should have a higher martial arts realm. However, this does not mean that his talent definitely surpasses that of the two saintesses. Deng Wuqing wanted to rise higher, but endless pressure came upon him. Even when he stimulated all of his saber intent and martial arts will, he still couldn't advance higher. Is the 730th zhang my limit? Although Deng Wuqing felt incredibly aggrieved in his heart, he had to admit this fact. As the prestigious Martial Academy's Saint Child, he still couldn't surpass the renowned Xiao Yun. I've been silent for 5 years, originally intending to explode only in front of that guy. Yi Xingxuan's eyes flickered with starlight, and then he let out a soft shout. Above his head, ancient symbols shone one after another, as if they were branding the heavens and earth. As the starry river emerged and the rules resonated, frightening and earth-shattering auras erupted around Yi Xingchen, causing the heavenly pride stele to wobble slightly. Yi Xingchen's eyes were cold, and he stomped fiercely. The air currents exploded beneath his feet, revealing endless runes spreading out from under his feet. Hiss! The heavenly prides drew in a cool breath as they saw Yi Xingchen instantly break through the 700 zhang height of the heavenly pride stele, ascending at an extremely fast pace. After a short while, Xiao Yun's record was completely shattered by him. 735 zhangs, 738 zhangs, 740 zhangs, 759 zhangs, 759 zhangs. Just over 200 zhangs away from the pinnacle of the heavenly stele, Yi Xingxuan is simply too terrifying. Yi Xingxuan was still rising slowly, but as he broke through each zhang in height, the starlight around him dimmed slightly at the height of 765 zhangs. Yi Xingxuan could no longer advance as he felt a tremendous pressure from above, as if a giant hammer of rules was striking his body, causing him immense pain with each hit. Just as he was about to give up, he suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure appearing at the same height as him. It's her. Yi Xingxuan's pupils couldn't help but constrict. He didn't expect that someone else could reach this height. What he expected even less was that someone could surpass him. Even Xiao Yun and Martial Academy's Saint Child Deng Wuqing, he didn't care much about. Indeed, just as he had anticipated, Xiao Yun and Deng Wuqing were both trampled under his feet. Now, however, there was an accident. Nangong Shui, who had always appeared to have no explosive power, managed to surpass Deng Wuqing and Xiao Yun in succession, even catching up to him. Damn it, it's against the heavens. This Nangong Shui is too terrifying, even surpassing Yi Xingxuan. Who can suppress her now? Chapter 547. Chapter 547. Chapter 292. Ascending to the peak, Tianyong City trembles. _2. Chapter 547. Chapter 292. Ascending to the peak, Tianyong City trembles. _2 Lise. Reading on Zavel. And when it was discovered that Nangong Shui had surpassed Yi Xingxuan and reached the top, all the heavenly prides were astonished. This unexpected turn of events was simply too abrupt for them. From the beginning to the end, Nangong Shui never had any outbreaks and simply followed silently behind Xiao Yun, Deng Wuqing, and Yi Xingxuan. By any measure, Nangong Shui did not seem to be a match for Xiao Yun and the others. Standing with his hands behind his back, the middle-aged man on the suspended rock looked at Nangong Shui, his face darkening in seriousness. This girl has a very powerful force of extreme yin within her body. Could it be that she has awakened the legendary physique from the Nangong family's tales? At first, he didn't notice anything unusual about Nangong Shui, and thought she was just an exceptionally talented, heavenly pride like Xiao Yun and the others. However, as the pressure from the heavenly pride steel grew stronger, her abnormalities began to show. That was an extremely cold force that burst from within her body, counteracting the pressure of the heavenly pride steel, allowing her to successively surpass Deng Wuqing and Xiao Yun. Even Yi Xingxuan's second outburst could not suppress her. With Yi Xingxuan's black hair scattered and the power of stars surging, even the starry river appeared in the sky, yet he could not break the limit again. In the end, he had no choice but to leave his name at the 765-foot-tall heavenly pride steel. Glancing at Nangong Shui, who had already surpassed the 800-foot-tall heavenly pride steel and continued to rise, Yi Xingxuan felt disheartened. 5 years of silence, 5 years of metamorphosis, and before he could even fight that person, he was overtaken by someone else. This blow was a bit too heavy for him. Fortunately, having experienced such a lot in the previous 5 years, his state of mind had changed greatly, and he quickly recovered. The heavenly pride steel is just the beginning and does not represent everything. His eyes were reignited with a fighting spirit. After Nangong, Shui broke through the 800-foot height of the heavenly pride steel. The amazing thunder erupted in the void, bombarding down like thunderballs. At this moment, above Nangong Shui's delicate body, purple light and dazzling brilliance bloomed, emanating a strange power, smashing the fallen thunderball. This collision was not followed by silence, but by the true start as the real heavenly pride steel's curtain was raised. Accompanied by the rolling thunder, there were suspended rocks in the void, on top of which powerful auras appeared. These were the high-ranking members of the imperial court, attracted by the anomalies triggered by the heavenly pride steel. The heavenly pride steel was not just about leaving names. It was also a test of the strength and potential of the heavenly prides. If they relied solely on strength and lacked extraordinary talent, 799 feet would be the limit. Once they broke through the 800-foot height, it meant that a monster with a special constitution had appeared. The secrets of the heavenly pride steel were, of course, known only to the high-ranking members of the imperial court. So, when anomalies appeared on the heavenly pride list, powerful figures emerged one by one. The weakest one was at the peak of the Golden Core realm. The majority were celestial humans who had surpassed the Golden Core level. Are all these strong people here because of Nangong Shui? Some heavenly prides murmured to themselves. To be able to break through the 800-foot limit and cause the heavenly pride list to stir up anomalies, there must be some secret we don't know about. These were all heavenly prides, quick-witted, and they quickly formed speculations. At this moment, Nangong Shui was still calmly ascending to a higher position on the heavenly pride steel, and the terrifying rumbling thunderballs falling down did not pose any threat to her. However, everyone could see clearly that as Nangong Shui climbed higher, the purple light and dazzling brilliance that radiated from her body became more abundant, causing the thunder to become more terrifying, like the destructive thunder at the end of the world. In the distance, celestial human powerhouses watched intently at the incredible power emitted from Nangong Shui's body, their hearts far from calm in the process. "Sister, I knew you were the strongest," Nangong whispered to herself, standing in the crowd, her clothes fluttering, her black hair flying, and her beautiful eyes shining with excitement. The other heavenly prides' hearts tightened, vaguely sensing that Nangong Shui's temperament seemed to have changed somewhat. It really is an extreme physique, a physique that only exists in the legends of the Nangong family. In the distance, a man wearing a golden robe and an imposing face sighed. Behind him, 3 people followed, each with an exceptionally elusive aura, but all silently standing behind the middle-aged man in the golden robe. It's a pity that Nangong Shui didn't enter the martial academy. Otherwise, she would definitely be able to comprehend a holy body technique from the divine martial enlightenment pillar. Chief Yuan, you don't have to worry about that. Since His Majesty has decided to form the Celestial Strategy Army through the Heavenly Pride Convention, they will all go to that place, and they will all have the opportunity to comprehend the holy body technique by then. One of them spoke, his eyes shining brightly as he opened and closed them. Chief Yuan, the one referred to, shook his head slightly, 1 step late, and every step is late. Who can be blamed for that? The Martial Academy has not closed its doors to these aristocratic families, but they are wary of the imperial court and are not willing to let the heavenly prides of their clans enter the Martial Academy, fearing that they would follow in the footsteps of those saint children. But how could they know that those saint children who disappeared from Morijin have already gone to a broader world, and even the martial arts have entered a realm they cannot imagine? The man in the golden robe was the #1 person in Morijin, Yuan Emperor. He never spoke throughout, retracting his gaze from Nangong Shui and then looking through the numerous heavenly prides. Besides lingering a bit on Yi Xingyun, Xiao Yun, and a few others, his gaze swept past the others like an autumn breeze sweeping fallen leaves. Without lingering, Chapter 548, Chapter 548, Chapter 292, Climbing to the Summit, Skywall City Shakes _3, Chapter 548, Chapter 292, Climbing to the Summit, Skywall City Shakes _3 lease, reading on Zavel, until his gaze fell on a young man, and his eyes suddenly revealed a touch of astonishment. At that moment, Lu Yin seemed to detect that someone was observing him, and glanced into the void, seeing countless floating reefs and majestic, solemn buildings. Did I feel something wrong just now? He withdrew his gaze with some doubt. Your Majesty, has something happened? These people had just sensed the emotions of the Yuan Emperor, as if some fluctuations had occurred. As the first individual in Morijin, the Yuan Emperor's martial arts realm and state of mind had reached an unfathomable level. They could not figure out who could possibly cause fluctuations in his state of mind. I found an interesting little fellow. The Yuan Emperor's face showed a mysterious smile. Oh, to be called mysterious by His Majesty. Does this person have more heavenly talent than Nangong Snow? A middle-aged man behind the Yuan Emperor asked curiously, while preparing to use his consciousness to search among the numerous heavenly prides gathered underneath the heavenly pride steel. The Yuan Emperor slightly raised his hand, stopping his action. That little fellow is very alert. My investigation just now seemed to have been detected by him. Let's not disturb him for now. Hearing this, the middle-aged man became even more astonished and curious. What kind of heavenly pride could detect even the Yuan Emperor's observation? 899 feet. It was then that a heavenly pride suddenly exclaimed, 899 feet. This had already left Yi Xingxuan far behind, and there was only 100 feet left from the top of the heavenly pride steel. Soon, the heavenly prides discovered that when Nangong Shui reached the height of 900 feet on the heavenly pride steel, the thunderbolts had already turned purple. The terrifying power contained within them sent chills down everyone's spines from a distance. And Nangong Shui, after being struck by these terrifying thunderbolts, staggered for a moment, slowing down her pace. It seems that 910 feet is about Nangong Shui's limit. A respected celestial human said from afar, with shining eyes. Nangong Shui's mouth corner showed a trace of blood, her beautiful eyes showing a resolute expression as she stared at the tremendous pressure and continued to climb upwards. Finally, she stopped after reaching 912 feet on the heavenly pride steel, her delicate jade fingers moving swiftly. Nangong Shui. She wrote the 3 characters in one stroke, and then she felt all the pressure on her body vanish. Even the terrifying thunderbolts that were constantly condensing overhead disappeared abruptly. The three huge characters she left on the Heavenly Pride stele were especially dazzling, surrounded by flashing runes, interwoven rules, clearly presenting themselves to everyone's eyes. At the same time, Nangong Shui seemed to become an insurmountable mountain, lying across the hearts of all the Heavenly Prides. They couldn't climb it or even come close. Even Xiao Qingyu, who was at 630 feet, was beyond anyone's reach. That was until a red-haired young man appeared and broke the silence. But even so, this red-haired young man could only leave his name at 625 feet on the Heavenly Pride stele. After that, very few Heavenly Prides could leave their names above 500 feet on the Heavenly Pride stele. As more and more Heavenly Prides left their names on the monument, one after another, low-profile Heavenly Prides gradually emerged. Although they were not as stunning as Yi Xingxuan and the others, they also sprinted to heights of 500 and even 600 feet. "Brother Lu, shouldn't you hurry up?" Qin Feng, who was beside him, couldn't help but poke Lu Yun's shoulder when he saw that Lu Yun had not moved. Now, most of the first batch of Heavenly Prides that had passed the Ascension Steps and entered Skywall City had left their names on the Heavenly Pride stele, except for Lu Yun and a few others. Among them, the most striking one was undoubtedly Nangong Shui, who had her name engraved at 912 feet. As for the worst, they only left their names at a height of a mere dozen feet on the Heavenly Pride stele. "All right, I'll go now." As he finished speaking, Lu Yun stepped into the void and rushed towards the Heavenly Pride stele. Once he entered the area radiated by the Heavenly Pride stele, he began to sprint upwards. With every step he took, a muffled sound was emitted, not as if stepping in the void, but as if stepping on a divine bell, the reverberations shaking everyone's bodies. What a great fellow! Another extraordinary powerhouse has arrived. The only question is whether he can break through the 500 feet limit. Out of the thousands of Heavenly Prides, to now, fewer than 20 had been able to leave their names above 500 feet on the Heavenly Pride stele. Lu Yun's current appearance on stage looks quite spectacular, instantly attracting the attention of many Heavenly Prides. Moreover, they couldn't see through Lu Yun's cultivation, which made their hearts even more curious and expectant. Watching Lu Yun disappear in the blink of an eye, Qin Feng exclaimed, "My goodness, Brother Lu, can you be any more imposing?" The moment Lu Yun moved, the three people behind Yuan Emperor focused their attention on him simultaneously. Since Yuan Emperor had earlier mentioned discovering a mysterious young fellow, they had been closely watching every person challenging the Heavenly Pride stele, but ended up finding nothing. It was only when they saw Lu Yun that they all felt a wave of astonishment surging through their hearts. What terrifying blood essence! What powerful flesh! What rich laws! The same thought emerged in the hearts of the three almost at the same time. At this moment, Lu Yun pressed upwards, and with each step he took, the Heavenly Pride stele would slightly shake. After taking 5 steps, he was already causing the surrounding void to tremble. All the Heavenly Prides watching were horrified, their hearts filled with shock. Even Yi Xingxuan's face changed dramatically. Only 5 steps, and he's already 500 feet above the Heavenly Pride stele. Is this guy even human? Xiao Qingyu couldn't help but exclaim, covering her mouth with her small hands. Where did this monster come from? How could he be so terrifying? Xiao Yun sighed. Although he had left his name on the Heavenly Pride stele at over 700 feet, that was the result of multiple explosive attempts. Without paying attention to the astonished Heavenly Prides, Lu Yun easily took his 6th step. Mountain-like pressure roared down from above, but it didn't affect him much as he took another step. The moment he took this step, a terrifying, murderous sound erupted in the world, as if thousands of people were yelling together, chilling one's soul. with a slight throb of his fourth-rank martial arts, the oppressive sound instantly dissipated. Next, Lu Yun took the 8th step. Boom! The moment the 8th step landed, the heavenly pride steel shook, the void erupted with a roar, and thunder gathered, drowning out everything. He's already surpassed Yi Xingxuan, breaking through to the height of 800 feet on the heavenly pride steel. Seeing the sudden change, a heavenly pride shouted. At this moment, Lu Yun felt the pressure suddenly surge, as if dozens of mountains were pressing down, making it difficult for him to breathe. There was also terrifying thunder descending from above, giving one the feeling of suffocation. With the vast laws surging, Lu Yun let out a soft shout and took another step. In an instant, those horrifying thunders about to fall on Lu Yun shattered. 900 feet. This youngster has astonishing talent. Chief Yuan couldn't help but exclaim, while the other two also showed astonishment in their eyes. Upon reaching 900 feet in height, Lu Yun felt an endless, boundless, and oppressive force from the heavenly pride steel. If I hadn't cultivated the great sun undying golden body, I'm afraid this would be my limit. Lu Yun's eyes flickered. However, with a move of his thoughts, all 58 perfectly tempered, imperishable golden bones in his body were activated. An overwhelming power burst out from the imperishable golden bones, flowing throughout his body, the brilliant golden light engulfing Lu Yun's figure completely. Even the heavenly pride steel was affected. Immediately, everyone could feel the plaza under their feet violently shaking, and even the space where the heavenly pride steel was located was constantly trembling. Following that, countless runes erupted from the heavenly pride steel, forming a dazzling light curtain covering a radius of thousands of miles. Rumble! Rumble! A dull, booming sound echoed in everyone's ears, followed by an explosion of extreme power. It seemed as if everything in the sky had been obliterated, and everything was pushed back to the beginning, terrifying beyond belief. Chapter 549, Chapter 549, Chapter 293, Yuan Emperor appears, astonishing cultivation technique. Chapter 549, Chapter 293, Yuan Emperor appears, astonishing cultivation technique lease. Reading on Zavel, runes filled the sky, as the heavenly pride steel was enshrouded in boundless golden light, with colorful clouds radiating outwards. Unable to see clearly, the entire space trembled violently. Through the hazy view, a silhouette could be seen standing at the top of the heavenly pride steel. All sorts of visions emerged, invoking the rules hidden within the steel and transforming them into a golden wave that crashed fiercely into a distant void. The crowd gasped in shock, and then all turned to look in that direction, full of incredulity. Astonishingly, where the golden wave touched down, clusters of reefs gathered, with bizarrely shaped stones flying and beginning to multiply and evolve. Seeing this scene, the pupils of all the heavenly prides shrank, and some even tremblingly said, "What's going on? I feel like something is about to come out." Boom, boom, boom. With a dull rumble, pillars supporting the sky appeared out of thin air, wrapped in runes and shining brightly. Immediately after, the hovering reefs or in the void all gathered together. Under the illumination of the golden waves formed by runes and rules, they began to take the shape of a colonnade of palatial structures. In the many astonished gazes of the heavenly prides, the radiant and opulent palatial formation gradually took its final form. Once the golden wave made up of rules was exhausted, the magnificent architectural complex was fully formed. Among them, the most spectacular palace stood facing the heavenly pride steel from afar. On the top of the palace, a golden dragon sculpture coiled, looking mighty and majestic, as if it were a real living creature. It stood there, disdainfully scrutinizing all the heavenly prides. On a golden plaque, 3 characters emanating Tao rhyme and rules were engraved: Heavenly Pride Tower. Heavenly Pride Tower stood out like a crane in a flock of chickens amid the palatial architectural complex, drawing attention and making people yearn for it. In the vast sky wall city, there were countless palaces. Apart from the palace of the emperor, only the Heavenly Pride Tower's new architectural complex was the most spectacular and resplendent. To reach the summit of Heavenly Pride Steel and summon the Heavenly Pride Tower is truly impressive for the younger generation, said the Yuan Emperor, sitting on a golden throne that emerged from the void, his face majestic and domineering. Behind him, 3 powerful figures stood in the void, gazing down at the many heavenly prides. Your Majesty, the Yuan Emperor. At the moment of the Yuan Emperor's appearance, many celestial human elders who were attracted by the visions all bowed respectfully. The Yuan Emperor. All the Heavenly Pride's pupils constricted in shock and astonishment. The Yuan Emperor was a legendary figure for all the Heavenly Prides and living beings of Morijin. Even their elders had no chance to see the Emperor's face, let alone themselves. Greetings, Yuan Emperor. After a moment of astonishment, they quickly recovered, bowing respectfully to the Yuan Emperor with reverence and excitement in their eyes. The Yuan Emperor nodded slightly, gazing down at the many heavenly prides with a deep voice. You have climbed the ascension steps and left your name on the Heavenly Pride list, therefore you can be considered the Heavenly Prides of my Morijin. Then he turned his gaze to the newly formed Heavenly Pride Tower complex. Heavenly Pride Tower, born of the fortunes of all the Heavenly Prides of Morijin, stands limitless and endless. From now on, anyone who has their name on the Heavenly Pride Steel can enter the Heavenly Pride Tower as Master. The moment the Yuan Emperor's voice fell, a vast wave emanated from the Heavenly Pride Tower complex. A golden light burst out and merged into the Heavenly Pride Steel. Instantly, the characters on the Heavenly Pride Steel all radiated dazzling light. The crowd of Heavenly Prides was both astonished and puzzled by this sight. However, soon every person who had left their name on the steel felt a connection, and all looked towards the direction of Heavenly Pride Tower. Although the Heavenly Pride Tower was not summoned by you, it carries a share of your fortune. Consider it your place of refuge in Skywall City. The Yuan Emperor's voice calmly fell. There is still 1 month until the Heavenly Pride Convention. You all have 1 more month to cultivate, so make good use of this final time. With his last words said, the Yuan Emperor left. The golden throne in the void also turned into streams of golden light and disappeared on the spot. Farewell, Your Majesty. All the celestial humans bowed in unison towards the direction where the Yuan Emperor had been. Standing atop the Heavenly Pride Steel, Lu Yun felt as if he had been placed in a brand new world. The vast starry sky invoked a deep and endless feeling. The radiant stars shining within it seemed infinitely distant, but also within reach. Just as Lu Yun was puzzled, a majestic and domineering voice suddenly sounded in his ear. For reaching the top of the Heavenly Pride Steel, you are rewarded with 1 cultivation technique. As the voice fell, the stars in the sky suddenly changed. Among the glimmering stars, a purple star shone brightly and quickly flew towards Lu Yun. Before he could react, it struck him head-on. Surprisingly, there was no pain or sensation of being blown away, only a torrent of information flooding his mind. Divine elephant suppressing prison, strength, channeling the power of blood and spirit to form divine manifestations, suppressing the heavens with each movement of hand and foot, 10,800 particles within a human body. Awakening each particle grants the strength of 1 divine elephant. Upon awakening 10,800 particles, one gains the blessing of the strength of 10,000 divine elephants. With a single punch, the world is destroyed, stars shatter, and the sun and moon are reborn. divine elephant suppressing prison strength. What a terrifying cultivation technique. And an extremely precious body refining method. Lu Yun trembled in shock. Chapter 550, Chapter 550, Chapter 293. Yuan Emperor appears, astonishing cultivation technique, _2, Chapter 550, Chapter 293. Yuan Emperor appears, astonishing cultivation technique, _2 lease, reading on Zavel. M compared to the divine elephant suppressing prison strength. His pure yang martial arts canon was just a fart. There was simply no comparison. However, according to the cultivation technique description, awakening one divine elephant would grant infinite strength. Such a cultivation technique shouldn't even exist in Morrigen. Perhaps the divine elephant suppressing prison strength and the great sun undying golden body were brought here from other places by the first-generation primordial emperor. Lu Yun thought, apart from the impossibly mysterious first-generation primordial emperor, Lu Yun couldn't think of any other reason. If I manage to cultivate the divine elephant suppressing prison strength and enter the entry level of the great sun undying golden body, the combination of the two would boost my combat power to an unimaginable degree. Lu Yun directly sat down cross-legged on the spot and began to meditate. His original intention was to leave his name on the heavenly pride stele, then tour around Skywall City for a while before heading to the Origin Martial Academy. Now that he had obtained such a heaven-defying physical cultivation technique, he was itching to try it. As for him ascending to the top of the Heavenly Pride stele, causing the Heavenly Pride Tower to appear ahead of time, and even attracting the appearance of the Yuan Emperor, he was clueless about it. The top of the Heavenly Pride stele was completely enveloped in dazzling light, and the Heavenly Prides outside couldn't know Lu Yun's current situation. Refine the blood and qi within the body to the extreme, giving birth to divine power. Then use this as a guide to awaken the particles within the body. Each particle contains the power of a giant elephant. When the divine elephant suppressing prison strength is cultivated to the extreme, all the giant elephants will grow into divine elephants. At that time, turning the world upside down, shattering the stars, will all be just a thought away, according to the divine elephant suppressing prison strength cultivation technique. The giant elephants are young, growing, and evolving into dragon elephants. The dragon elephants are green. Continuing to grow and metamorphose, they transform into primordial elephants. The primordial elephants are strong. Finally, they transform into divine elephants, possessing peak divine power. Lu Yun was immersed in his meditation. The many heavenly prides beneath the heavenly pride stele were all puzzled as Lu Yun didn't show his face for a long time. What's going on? The anomaly on the heavenly pride stele hasn't disappeared yet. Hasn't Lu Yun reached his limit? Yeah, it's been so long, even the heavenly pride tower has already emerged, but Lu Yun hasn't left his name on the heavenly pride stele yet, and we can't even see his figure. In the eyes of these heavenly prides, all of this seemed somewhat unbelievable. They naturally didn't know that Lu Yun had already climbed to the top of the heavenly pride stele, obtained a shocking opportunity, and was now meditating. Could it be that there's something special above 999 feet? Nangong Shue's beautiful eyes stared at the heavenly pride stele, which was still shrouded in golden light. She had been infinitely close to that peak position before, but ultimately couldn't reach it. I awakened the extreme Yin physique, a legendary physique of the Nangong family, to reach the distance of 912 feet. But he greatly surpassed me. I wonder what kind of physique he has. Nangong Shui pondered. She clearly remembered that when her extreme Yin physique awakened, the long-slumbering patriarch of her clan was so excited that he ended his sleep and personally taught her martial arts. At that time, the patriarch often said that among the younger generation of heavenly prides in Morrigen, there were hardly any who had greater talent than the extreme Yin physique. Who is he exactly? Could he be even more astonishing than that guy Wu Chen? Yi Xingxuan frowned slightly. Among the younger generation in Morijin, he had always believed that Wu Chen was the most monstrous. It was because Wu Chen had shattered his confidence with one move back when he was most complacent. Even after being dormant for 5 years, his strength undergoing earth-shattering changes, he still didn't have much confidence. Deng Wuqing beside him said indifferently, as one of the Martial Academy's saint children, Wu Chen's talent is unparalleled. This person, although monstrous, is still a bit inferior. As one of the Martial Academy's saint children, he naturally didn't want to admit that there were other heavenly prides who were more monstrous than Wu Chen. This included Lu Yun, who had already climbed to the top of the heavenly pride stele and attracted the personal appearance of the primordial emperor. At this moment, however, Lu Yun was wholeheartedly immersed in his meditation. Vaguely, he felt as if his blood and qi were boiling as thick smoke, seething with intensity. Immediately after, he sensed the 100,000 particles within his body, each like a world-destroying divine beast, possessing infinite might. Boom! Lu Yun mobilized the golden blood and qi inside his body. After several transformations and cultivating the great sun undying golden body, Lu Yun's blood and qi had become incredibly terrifying. Naturally, cultivating the divine elephant suppressing prison strength would be more effective. Rumble! Soon, Lu Yun felt that the golden blood in his body had been refined to the extreme, condensing into a powerful divine force. This divine force began to rampage within his body, then suddenly poured into one of the particles. Roar! In an instant, it was as if a peerless, fierce beast had awakened within his body, letting out a sky-shattering howl that shook the heavens. This was the giant elephant. Immediately after, an even more vast force surged out of Lu Yun's body, along with the awakening of the giant elephant. 1,000,000 pounds of colossal strength. Lu Yun was inwardly shocked. Just a single giant elephant possessed 1,000,000 pounds of colossal strength. According to the divine elephant-suppressing prison strength cultivation technique description, the giant elephant was merely in its infancy. What if it transformed into a dragon elephant, a primordial elephant, and ultimately a divine elephant? Lu Yun shook his head slightly, continued cultivating, and his golden blood and qi soared into the sky. It seemed as if behind him, a golden divine elephant suppressing heaven and earth and shattering the firmament was formed. What a powerful fluctuation. There is another abnormality happening on the heavenly pride stele again. Has Lu Yun caused some commotion again? Lu Yun's cultivation fluctuations caused the many heavenly prides that had been silent for a while to be stirred up once more. They all stared blankly at the anomaly standing tall above the heavenly pride stele. The golden divine elephant, its eyes tightly shut, stood silently, as if it were suppressing this vast expanse of nothingness. Although it was just a phantom, it caused an extremely heavy sense of pressure on all the heavenly prides. Is this really an abnormality? A few of the heavenly prides muttered to themselves. They felt that this golden divine elephant was somewhat different from the previous anomalies, but they couldn't point out exactly what was different. The phantom of the golden divine elephant stood tall above the heavenly pride stele, never dispersing. As time passed, more and more golden divine elephant phantoms appeared, while Lu Yun never showed himself, as if he had vanished completely on top of the heavenly pride stele. Gradually, some heavenly prides managed to reach Sky Wall City by passing the Ascension Steps test. Naturally, they wanted to leave their names on the heavenly pride stele. Among these newcomers, a few managed to break through the 500 feet height on the heavenly pride stele from time to time. As for breaking through the 600 feet height, very few did. Only 1 or 2 appeared each day at most. These heavenly prides all held considerable fame in the various regions of Morijin and were disciples of those super aristocratic families. As for martial academies, Saint Child and Saintess, besides Deng Wuqing, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu who appeared in the beginning, there were no other arrivals. After each heavenly pride left their name, they looked up at the top of the heavenly pride stele, where a golden light still enveloped the area and numerous golden divine elephants stood tall above the sky. According to the descriptions of other heavenly prides, the anomalies hadn't dissipated because some genius was cultivating at the top of the heavenly pride stele. All the newcomers were terribly curious about that genius. How exceptional must that genius be to reach the top of the heavenly pride stele? After all, Nangong Shui, situated at 912 feet, was like a mountain that loomed over the hearts of all heavenly prides, making it hard for them to breathe. Not to mention the one who reached the very top of the heavenly pride stele. The only thing that puzzled them was why, on the heavenly pride stele, only Nangong Shui's name shone the brightest. As for that genius, he seemed not to have left his name. Time passed gradually, and the 1-month deadline for the Heavenly Pride Convention was getting closer and closer. The Heavenly Prides from all over Morijin were arriving at the Imperial City one after another. After passing the Ascension Steps test and reaching Skywall City, they left their names on the Heavenly Pride stele and obtained the qualifications to reside in the Heavenly Pride Tower. Half a month later, the number of Heavenly Prides who left their names on the Heavenly Pride list reached an astonishing 90,000. Among them, those who left their names above the 600 feet mark on the Heavenly Pride stele numbered over 50. As for those who left their names above the 700 feet mark, including people like Yi Xingxuan before, there were only 9 in total. And as for those above 800 feet, only one person had achieved it up until now. That was Nangong Shui. Chapter 551, Chapter 551, Chapter 294. Battle platform emerges, the assembly begins. Chapter 551, Chapter 294. Battle platform emerges, the assembly begins. Lise, reading ensemble, and boom, boom, boom. From time to time, there were violent noises coming from the top of the Heavenly Pride stele, and the phenomenon continued without stopping, making the previous rumor more and more real. I really want to see the monster who reached the top of the Heavenly Pride stele. What kind of talent does this monster have to be able to surpass Nangong Shui and reach the top of the Heavenly Pride stele? As time passed, Nangong Shui's fame spread more and more, gradually surpassing the monsters Yi Xingxuan and Xiao Yun from the superfamilies. Even now, some people were comparing Nangong Shui with the 2 hidden monsters in the Martial Academy. After all, Nangong Shui left her name at the 912th zhang of the Heavenly Pride stele, a result far superior to the Martial Academy's Saint Child, Deng Wuqing, and others. Moreover, no one has appeared since that time who could leave their name above the 800 zhangs of the Heavenly Pride stele. It could be said that Nangong Shui's talent simply crushed all other heavenly prides. In the blink of an eye, another half-month passed. At this time, the Ascension Steps were completely closed, and more than 100,000 heavenly prides from various provinces of Morijin gathered. One day, the strong ones from each major force all rushed towards the Imperial City. With the permission of the Yuan Emperor, only Golden Core realm cultivators and above could ascend to Skywall City, and they must leave immediately after the Heavenly Pride Convention ended. The Morijin Imperial Court was a vast area of architectural complexes, suspended in the air like a heavenly palace. Golden and splendid palaces, luminous glazed tile roofs, 10,000 dazzling lights, floating in mists of divine fog. Looking from afar, it was like a celestial palace. This Skywall City, with its ability to evolve into such magnificent and splendid palaces and floating islands, seemed to be more than just an ordinary Taoist device. However, to these top aristocratic families and strong people, spirit artifacts were like divine objects, let alone the more mysterious Taoist devices. At this moment, inside the imperial court, a grand banquet was set with countless delicacies, exotic dishes, and precious spiritual fruits. Many celestial humans, as well as important members of the imperial court, were seated at the table. As for those in the Golden Core realm, they had no qualifications to sit. Inside a palace in Skywall City, Chu Ruoshi, dressed in a purple dress, sat at a dressing table. Several maids were dressing her up. Chu Ruoshi in her purple dress had become more mature and charming compared to several months ago. Especially after being dressed up, she was extremely attractive. Her eyes were like water clippers, her eyebrows like clear streams, her creamy skin lightly covered with powder, and she was incredibly beautiful. However, there was always a faint trace of melancholy between her brows. Chu Juanxia, who was trimming her eyebrows for her, said, "Ruoshi, you are going to find a husband today. You should be a little happy." Chu Ruoshi shook her head slightly. "Juanxia's sister. I don't even know what the other person looks like, and I have to be with them for a lifetime. How can I be happy?" "I've already inquired for you, sister. The current contenders for the championship are Nangong Shui, Yixing Xuan, Xiao Yun, Duguju, Hu Mengqing, Gao Yingqian, Qini, and Xia Hoing." Nangong Shui. Chu Ruoshi was a little puzzled. She knew about the others in front of her. Xiao Yun and Yi Xingyun were respectively the heirs of the strongest superfamilies in Wu Province and Qing Province, and their reputations had long spread throughout Morijin. The remaining few were all famous monsters in Central Province, and their family elders were important figures in the imperial court, even the left and right arms of her father emperor. Only this Nangong Shui was relatively unknown, making her somewhat surprised. Moreover, judging from the name, it seemed to be a woman. If it really was a woman, among these people, Nangong Shui has the most terrifying talent and the greatest chance of winning the championship. In that case, you don't have to worry about it. Chu Ruoshi comforted. "Is Nangong Shui a woman?" "Yes, she is the heir of the Nangong family from Yang Province. She is said to have awakened the legendary physique. She surpassed everyone on the Heavenly Pride Steel this time." Chu Juanxia told Chu Ruoshi all the information she had found out, including the ascension steps and the anomalies on top of the Heavenly Pride Steel. Nangong Shui's talent is already so terrifying, and there is someone who can surpass her. Chu Ruoxi's heart was suddenly unsettled, and her hopes were instantly dashed. Originally, she hoped that Nangong Shui could suppress Yi Xingxuan and others and win the Heavenly Pride Convention strongly. In that case, she would not have to recruit a prince consort. After finishing Chu Ruoxi's makeup, Chu Juanxia put down her brush and said, "It's okay, don't worry anymore. That monster has not appeared yet, and may still be on the Heavenly Pride Steel. He should not be able to make it to the Heavenly Pride Convention. I'm not afraid of 10,000, just afraid of the 1 in 10,000. Chu Ruoshi was still somewhat worried. At the same time, at the top of the Heavenly Pride Steel, the colorful clouds were lingering and golden lights were shining brightly, with a sacred aura spreading all over. Lu Yun was seated cross-legged in the void, with the vast starry river above his head and the stars moving around, hinting at the leisurely passing of time. Lu Yun's whole body had become more transcendent. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, a rumbling bell rang out. Within the body of Lu Yun, another thunderous roar sounded as another elephant microparticle awoke. Finally, Lu Yun suddenly opened his eyes, and the surging blood qi and powerful divine strength violently impacted his bones. His imperishable golden bones had been tempered once again at this moment. I've awakened 1,000 elephant microparticles and tempered another imperishable golden bone along the way. Adding the previous 58, I've already completed the tempering of 59 imperishable golden bones. Lu Yun's eyes were disdainful, his divine strength was strong, and his aura was surging. Chapter 552, Chapter 552, Chapter 294, Battle platform emerges, the assembly begins _2, Chapter 552, Chapter 294, Battle platform emerges, the assembly begins _2 lease, reading on Zavel, a gigantic elephant with 1,000,000 pounds of force. 1,000 microparticles awaken as 1,000 giant elephants, their power surging to 1,000,000,000. During the cultivation of the divine elephant suppressing prison strength, I inadvertently also tempered one of the imperishable golden bones. What a pleasant surprise, Lu Yun muttered to himself. Even in a place where heavenly and earthly spiritual qi is extremely abundant, it would still take him at least nearly 100,000 spirit crystals to temper an imperishable golden bone. Now, with the help of the divine power and blood qi released during the awakening of the elephant microparticles, they can also promote the tempering of the imperishable golden bones. Boom, boom, boom. The muffled and melodious sound of the bell rang again. A month has passed, and it seems that the Heavenly Pride Convention has begun. They'll go join in the fun. Lu Yin got up, left the summit of the Heavenly Pride Steel, and immediately all the visions vanished. Looking at the suddenly appearing palace complex not far away, a trace of surprise flashed in Lu Yun's eyes. In just 1 month, such a majestic and magnificent Heavenly Pride Tower has been added. This method is truly unimaginable. Lu Yun glanced around and headed for the most glorious and spectacular architectural complex in Skywall City, central square of the Imperial Court. Many powerful celestial humans took their seats one by one, and numerous heavenly prides gathered. Hearing the sound of the bell ringing, they all looked at the golden throne in unison. Following the 9 bell rings, a grandiose voice came from deep within the palace. Immediately afterwards, a golden arch bridge extended from the distant sky, and a group of people standing on the golden bridge slowly walked forward. Leading them was the Yuan Emperor, dressed in imperial robes, with an overbearing and majestic aura. Behind him, a group of princes and princesses followed. Chu Ruoshi and Chu Juanxiao were among them. Many heavenly prides revealed amazed looks in their eyes when they saw Chu Ruoshi dressed in purple and peerlessly beautiful. Is that the little princess of Emperor Yuan? She's indeed a matchless beauty in the world. Yes, such a stunning beauty makes my heart race just thinking about her. Moreover, she's the most beloved little princess of Emperor Yuan, so obtaining her would mean soaring to greatness. Unfortunately, we are destined to be just a foil and can't enjoy such a beauty. As their gazes swept over the figures at the forefront, such as Yi Xingxuan and Xiao Yun, many heavenly prides sighed softly. At the same age, they were still stuck in the rune seed realm, while others were already strong like golden core realm, equal to the elders in their family, and there was no comparison. The little princess is so beautiful. Xiao Yun, you have to work hard and strive to take her to our Xiao family. Xiao, Qingyu teased Xiao Yun. I really want to, but there are so many strong enemies. I don't have much hope. Xiao Yun replied with a hint of desolation. After the events at the Heavenly Pride Steel, he was quite affected. Without even revealing themselves, the strongest saint children at the Origin Martial Academy were already suppressed by several other demonic prodigies, which was a huge blow to him. Do you think that guy will come? Xiao Qingyu suddenly said, Who are you talking about? The one with even more terrifying talent than Nangong Shui. Which guy? Xiao Yun's body shuddered violently. When he thought of the scene where the other party had reached the top of the heavenly pride stele in just 10 steps, causing visions to appear in the sky and earth, he couldn't help but feel his courage drain away. What kind of talent and intelligence did it take to achieve such a degree? If he really comes, I'm afraid I won't have any hope left, Xiao Yun said with great apprehension in his heart. At this point, he still harbored a glimmer of hope. Although Nangong Shui had terrifying talent, she was too young and had just entered the Golden Core realm not too long ago. As for Yi Xingxuan, Duguju, Hu Mengqing, Gao Yingqian, Qini, and others, he felt that he could compete with them. All heavenly prides, the convention officially begins. You may enter the competition stage. Whoever can persist until the end and win the championship will not only be able to marry my daughter, but also become the new army commander of the Celestial Strategy Army in Dayuan, said the Yuan Emperor. He calmly spoke from his prominent golden throne, and his authoritative voice echoed all around. This event is called the Heavenly Pride Convention, but in reality, it is to select the position of the Celestial Strategy Army commander. So deliberate killing is not allowed. As the words of the Yuan Emperor fell, in the central square, flying stones and diffused light quickly formed an immense battle platform. It could be seen that the platform was dark gold in color, as if it was made from divine gold and meteorites from the heavens, with various runes engraved, making it look extremely majestic. Ha! I know I won't be the champion, but since I'm here, I have to give it a try. A young man carrying a long spear suddenly leaped onto the platform and laughed. He's from the Chun family of the northern district of Ying province, a heavenly pride with quite good talents and strength. Some heavenly prides from Ying province spoke up. The Chun family of the northern district of Ying province was indeed an aristocratic family of 1,000 years. Other heavenly prides seemed eager to act as well. After all, opportunities to perform in front of the Yuan Emperor and many celestial humans were not common. Those who have not reached the Golden Core realm, don't come up and make a fool of yourself. Just then, an arrogant and rude young man stepped onto the platform, slashing out with a saber, causing a gap in the void with his terrifying saber intent. Seeing this, the heavenly pride from the Chun family's expression changed drastically, and he thrust his long spear out to block the saber. However, the gap between the two was too great, as the long spear was directly cut apart by the saber, and a huge wound appeared on his shoulder. Humph! If it weren't for the Yuan Emperor's prohibition to take someone's life, this slash of mine would have taken your life. The young man glanced at the Chun family's heavenly pride, then looked at the numerous heavenly prides below, and indifferently said, I, Xia Hoing, am standing here. If anyone wants to compete for the position of the Celestial Strategy Army Commander, feel free to come up and fight. As a result of the previous lesson from the Chun family's heavenly pride, other heavenly prides stopped impulsively coming forward. The gap between the Rune Seed realm and the Golden Core realm was simply too great. Moreover, Xia Hoing was a contender for the championship. Hee, are there no more brave souls willing to fight me? Xia Hoing stood on the platform, exuding a terrifying saber intent, looking arrogant and domineering in his demeanor. Boom! Just as Xia Hoying's words fell, an explosive aura erupted from below. This Celestial Strategy Army Commander position belongs to me. Princess Ruoshi belongs to me too. And as for you, Xia Hoing, you're nothing but a mere scoundrel. A handsome and elegant young man stepped onto the platform, holding a mid-level treasure artifact sword in his hand, his body filled with the sharp sword intent. Hu Mengqing, you're just relying on the family and your father's shadow, barely breaking through to the Golden Core realm. Wanting to compete with me for the position of Celestial Strategy Army Commander is still far-fetched. Xia Hoing sneered. Today, I, Hu Mengqing, will defeat you personally in front of the Yuan Emperor, the celestial humans, and countless heavenly prides. As Hu Menking's words fell, he let out a long howl, and his mid-level golden core realm strength burst out. Dense runes surrounded him. Each rune emitted a rich aura of law. You've actually reached the mid-level of the golden core realm. How many cultivation resources did you consume? It seems like Prime Minister Hu and the Hu family really dote on you. Xia Hoing narrowed his eyes slightly. At this moment, Hu Menking's realm was no weaker than his. It seems that the rumors about Hu Mengqing aren't all true. Many heavenly prides thought to themselves after seeing his sudden burst of power, even if you have breakthrough to the mid-level golden core realm, how will it help? You still won't last more than a few moves under my blade. Xia Hoing made his move, shaking the void with his long saber, filled with mighty law and an empowering blade. With terrifying saber intent, it's like a section of the dome of heaven collapsing. Heavenly thunder sword technique. Hu Menking's sword slashed out, converging the thunder into a thunderous sword radiance tens of feet long, slashing towards Xia Hoing. Their moves collided, creating ripples, with saber chi and sword chi crisscrossing. Seeing this, the Yuan Emperor pointed with one hand, and on all four corners of the platform, a towering light rose, emanating mysterious light, confining the battle fluctuations of the two within the platform. Hu Mengqing can actually fight against Xia Hoing. It seems like he has been hiding his powers. That's right. I thought he would only last a few moves under Xia Hoing before being defeated. Like father, like son. His father is the left and right arm of the current Yuan Emperor. How can he be any different? Many discussions sounded. As for Lu Yun, because the palace was too large, he couldn't find his direction in time. Upon noticing the intense battle fluctuations, his gaze instantly sharpened. It should be in this direction. Chapter 553, Chapter 553, Chapter 295, Demonic Ape Bloodline, Heartless Blade. Chapter 553, Chapter 295, Demonic Ape Bloodline, Heartless Blade Lease, reading on Zavel. On the dark golden battle platform, ancient and mysterious runes flickered, and a mysterious light enveloped it, preventing the impact of the aftermath of the fight. The two figures inside kept clashing, occasionally erupting skyward sword radiance and destructive fluctuations. Who do you think will win, and how will the Heavenly Pride Convention conclude? Many heavenly prides were discussing who would have the upper hand between Xia Hoing and Hu Mengqing. 70-30, I think. Xia Hoing has a 70% chance of winning. After all, his strength is obvious. As for Hu Mengqing, although his performance is quite impressive compared to Xia Hoing, he lacks a profound foundation and a powerful physique. This was not just the opinion of one heavenly pride, but the consensus of many. Xia Hoing had trained in the Demon Suppression Army, fought face-to-face with the heavenly prides of the 100 Sect, while Hu Mengqing had spent most of his time intoxicated in the Imperial City, and had rarely gone out to gain experience. Not necessarily. Hu Mengqing has been hiding his true strength all these years, and we don't know his limits or what trump cards he has. Now that he has exposed his strength, he might make a shocking performance. Even winning this Heavenly Pride Convention isn't impossible. Some supported Xia Hoing, and there were naturally those who believed in Hu Mengqing. After further discussion and analysis, most people thought Xia Hoing had the better chance of winning because he was more stunning, and more importantly, he was the son of Xiahou Shu. Xiahou Shu, the army commander of the Meridian's Demon Suppression Army, was second only to the Yuan Emperor and was on par with the commander of the Monster Extermination Army in the entire Meridian. On the platform, the two figures transformed into beams of light, like two stars colliding, erupting brilliant and dazzling radiance, with the clangs of sword and saber colliding, echoing nonstop. Boom! Both of them were in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, possessed divine abilities, and fought fiercely together. Sometimes they clashed like two ancient divine mountains, sometimes like two stars impacting, causing intense fluctuations that made the heaven and earth roar. If not for the mysterious runes on the battle platform and the mysterious light enveloping it, the powerful fluctuations emitted would have been enough to cause heavy damage to the many heavenly prides present. The two fought fiercely for dozens of rounds before the surging glow finally slowly subsided. When all the lights disappeared, only two figures remained inside, staring at each other indifferently. The spectators were shocked at the strength of the two fighters. They couldn't help but think that if they were the ones to face either of them, they would fall immediately, unable to withstand a single blow. Even the veteran Golden Core realm experts were uneasy, not expecting that the younger generation could possess such terrifying strength. And what's more, there weren't just one or two of them who were this powerful. They turned their gazes to the Yuan Emperor seated on a golden throne, wondering why he suddenly held such a heavenly pride convention. Was it merely for the so-called Celestial Strategy Army? The Yuan Emperor was unfathomable, with deep eyes that sometimes fell on the battle platform and sometimes gazed at the distant sky, not caring about the opinions of these old experts. Xiaoying, it seems your strength is not that great after all. Hu Menking's eyes flashed as an amazing sword intent emerged. You used to pretend to be a useless playboy, but now you suddenly break out and create a stir. Surely, it's not just for the Celestial Strategy Army and the position of Prince Consort. Xiahou Ying's eyes revealed an unusual color. Now, Hu Menking's exhibited strength was not much weaker than his, and there was no longer any trace of arrogance in his speech. Afterward, the two fell into a brief silence. However, those watching the fight could see that the momentum of both fighters on the platform was increasing, becoming more and more terrifying. Xiahou Ying's clothes fluttered like a resurgent saber god, and his eyes were filled with the intent of extinction and desolation. On the other side, Hu Mengqing was the same, with his robe billowing, his body seemingly surrounded by surging sword qi. Holding his long sword in both hands, he prepared to unleash a shocking killing move. Mengqing is using his ultimate swordsmanship divine ability. It seems that Xiahou Shu's kid is a bit tricky. A middle-aged man sitting in a relatively prestigious seat murmured to himself. This middle-aged man had the audacity to mention the Demon Suppression Army commander Xiahou Shu's name directly, implying his high status. Indeed, this middle-aged man was none other than one of the pillars of the imperial court of Morigen, the prime minister Hu Xiu, whose realm was rumored to have reached an unfathomable depth. Several celestial humans sat next to him, all of whom were the important higher-ups in the imperial court. One of them said, "Congratulations, Prime Minister Hu, for having a worthy successor." Yes, Xiaoying is one of the strongest among the younger generation in the Central Province, second only to a few saint children of the Origin Martial Academy. Mengqing can fight him to such a degree, which means he will definitely make further progress in the heavenly human realm in the future, said another celestial human. Silent Destruction Divine Blade, / Xiaoying activated his divine ability, and the laws infused into the divine saber. Black saber lights with an aura of extinction burst out, and wherever they passed, even the void seemed to be extinguished. Purple Sky Thunderstrike. Hu Mengqing also unleashed his divine ability, with brilliant thunder roaring above his head. On the 3-foot-long sword, extremely sharp sword qi surged. Then he swung his sword, and countless thunderbolts and sword qi condensed into a world-shattering sword radiance with vast power. Watching the two fight using their strongest divine abilities, the many heavenly pride's faces were full of shock. I thought that as long as I advanced to the Golden Core realm, I would have the strength to fight against these evildoers. I didn't expect them to be so formidable, said Nangong Wan, with a touch of despair in her eyes. Next to her, Nangong Shui sat quietly, her expression not changing much. Chapter 554. Chapter 554. Chapter 295. Demonic Ape Bloodline. Heartless Blade _2. Chapter 554. Chapter 295. Demonic Ape Bloodline. Heartless Blade _2 lease. Reading on Zovel. She was not one for competition, and if it were not for the strong insistence from her elders in the clan, she would not have participated in the Heavenly Pride Convention in the first place. Xiao Yun, Yi Xingxuan, and the others watched the intense battle on stage with a glimmer of fighting spirit in their eyes. As time passed, the fluctuations on the stage became increasingly violent, and it was clear that the battle was heating up and reaching a decisive outcome. Boom! After a powerful collision, specks of blood stained Hu Menking's body. Xia Hoing was also in bad condition, her mouth stained with blood. This guy is really hard to deal with. Xia Hoing became impatient and immediately stimulated the demonic ape bloodline in her body. In an instant, a shocking surge of blood energy soared into the sky. A towering and muscular giant ape appeared intermittently behind Xia Hoing. Demonic ape bloodline. A sharp glint flashed across Hu Xiu's eyes. Those in the imperial upper echelons and the super-aristocratic families knew that the demonic ape bloodline was part of the Xiahou clan's inheritance. Although the demonic ape bloodline was originally a terrifying power, it had significant side effects. Once activated, one would completely lose their sanity, as well as cause great harm to their potential and physical body. However, after the arrival of the first-generation primordial emperor, he resolved the Xiahou clan's hidden dangers in their bloodline inheritance, allowing it to become truly perfected and elevating the Xiahou family from being a top-notch family to one of the super families in the central province. The current patriarch of the Xiahou clan, Xiahou Shu, was now one of the top combatants in Morijin and the commander of the Demon Suppression Army. Hu Mengqing, you force me to use the demonic ape bloodline. Even in defeat, you have achieved glory. Xiahou Ying's eyes looked down at Hu Mengqing with a proud and condescending gaze. The outcome isn't certain until the end. Hu Mengqing's eyes were cold as he unleashed his final divine ability, Limitless Heavenly Sword. Hu Mengqing's entire body surged with countless sword qi, condensing into 100 feet of destructive sword light that sliced through the void rift and slashed down at Xia Hoing. Truly ignorant. Xia Hoing stimulated the demonic ape bloodline to its extreme, her aura suddenly doubling in intensity. Terrifying power and extensive laws converged upon her long saber, which she then swung down. A saber chi, filled with the aura of annihilation and domineering power, seemed capable of severing everything in the world. Boom! The limitless heavenly sword's light was directly split apart by the saber chi, and Hu Mengqing was blasted back by the powerful impact, spewing out a mouthful of blood. Finally, it was a celestial human who stepped in to block the saber chi, saving Hu Mengqing in time. Ha! Hu Mengqing, it seems the Celestial Strategy Army Commander's position is mine, as well as Princess Ruashi. Xia Hoing laughed arrogantly. Humph, this big brute. Chu Ruashi was furious, her chest trembling as she clenched her small fists. Looking at the towering Xia Hoing, she felt that even if Hu Mengqing, the notorious playboy, won the championship, it would be better than this big brute. She then looked at Nangong Shui, secretly thinking, Nangong Shui, don't let me down. On the other side, Hu Mengqing, who had been knocked off the stage, trembled slightly, bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Although he was somewhat unwilling, he had to admit that Xia Hoing, who had activated the demonic ape bloodline, was extremely difficult to defeat, as if she had cheated. Who else dares to challenge my title? Come forth and fight. As they looked at the awe-inspiring Xia Hoing, the Heavenly Pride participants in the audience couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Deng Wuqing, Xiao Yun, Gao Yingqian, and Qin Yi all had the urge to try their luck. However, They were here to snatch the championship and did not want to reveal their strengths too early. It was not too late to take action after understanding the strength of others. Seeing that no one stepped forward for the time being, Xiahou Ying's posture became even more arrogant. She turned her head to look at the Yuan Emperor and said, "Your Majesty, if no one comes forward, then I will be the champion of this Heavenly Pride convention." The Yuan Emperor nodded. "If no one steps onto the stage within 10 breaths, the championship will be Xiahou Ying's." Chu Ruox's face turned pale, and her hands clenched tightly. As far as she was concerned, anyone of Deng Wuqing, Xiao Yun, Gao Yingqian, or Qini would be a better champion than Xiahou Ying. In her view, Xiahou Ying was simply too bulky, completely unlike her ideal husband. Just as Xiahou Ying was reveling in her triumph and thought she had everything set, a voice filled with indifference resounded. "Demonic ape bloodline, not a bad stepping stone." Xiahou Ying's brow furrowed as her gaze fell on a young man. The young man folded his hands behind his back and gently moved, appearing on the stage. He looked at Xiahou Ying with an air of condescension, as if he were looking at a weakling. His appearance caused astonishment among the audience. "Who is this guy? He seems even cockier than Xiahou Ying. Interesting. Is Duguju going to take action?" Among them, some naturally recognized the young man on the stage. "That's right, this person is Duguju." His performance on the Heavenly Pride steel was even better than Yi Xingyun, only below Nangong Shui. "Duguju?" Chu Ruoxi looked at Duguju and felt that he was very cold, giving people an extremely uncomfortable feeling. If not for that cold temperament on him, his various aspects would indeed be much stronger than Xiahou Ying, especially in terms of appearance. "Duguju, although you outperformed me at the Heavenly Pride steel, when it comes to strength, you are nothing." Xiahou Ying slightly raised her eyebrows, looking at Duguju standing at the other end of the battlefield. Dressed in black with unrivaled looks and a lonely temperament, Xiahou Ying felt inexplicably annoyed. Too damn arrogant, even more arrogant than himself. If you don't want to lose too embarrassingly, use your full strength. Otherwise, you won't last 3 moves against me. A single sentence fell, and the whole field was silent. This was truly too arrogant. Xiahou Ying, even without using the power of her demonic ape bloodline, was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, possessing extraordinary strength. Duguju actually claimed that she wouldn't last 3 moves against him. If this wasn't due to immense confidence in one's own strength, it would be extreme arrogance and conceit. What an arrogant madman. Xiao Qingyu said coldly, "No, perhaps he's telling the truth." Xiao Yun, who was by her side, shook his head slightly. Yi Xingyan's eyes, on the other hand, flashed with astonishment and amazement. "Duguju, you..." Xiahou Ying's anger erupted, as Duguju's words clearly showed disdain for her. Immediately, she could no longer bear it and attacked directly. The huge demonic ape phantom behind her emerged as her terrifyingly mountain-like power and vast, abyss-like laws infused the treasured saber, unleashing an incredibly powerful strike towards Duguju. She was the Heavenly Pride of Central Province, the daughter of Army Commander Xiahou Shu of the Demon Suppression Army, and a prestigious person among her peers. How could she endure Duguju's contemptuous gaze? Duguju's expression was indifferent, his eyes extremely calm. His right hand gently reached out, and a treasured saber emitting a heavy aura appeared in his hand. The moment the treasured saber was unsheathed, a saber intent filled with disdain for the living burst forth. Within that saber intent, Xiahou Ying could only feel her anger vanishing instantly, as if all her emotions were being stripped away, leaving behind only loneliness and desolation. Clang! A peerless saber light annihilated all emotions in the world, leaving only endless loneliness and desolation to survive. Rumble! Such a terrifying strike fell, bringing about a dramatic scene, as if the sky was being cut down and all living things were being obliterated. Bang! The demonic ape phantom behind Xiaohoing disappeared, and she herself was struck, flying backward, and fell to the ground from the stage. For a while, there was complete silence in the audience. The heavenly prides in attendance and the seated guests all stared wide-eyed, not knowing what to say for a moment. Using the power of the demonic ape bloodline, Xiaohoing could easily suppress Hu Mengqing. But now, she was defeated by Duguju with just a single strike. This, for a time, all the heavenly prides present had shock and awe in their eyes. Even Yi Xingyan's fighting spirit was wavering at this time. Could he really be a match for such a terrifying Duguju? He thought that with his current strength, even if he couldn't compare to Wuchen from Origin Martial Academy, he should have no problem standing out among the heavenly prides at this heavenly pride convention. However, it didn't seem that simple now. Meridian's heavenly prides and monsters weren't limited to just the few in the open. This guy, Xiao Yun's expression was extremely serious, even though he was known as the most stunning heavenly pride in the Xiao family for 1,000 years. At this moment, facing Duguju, a peer of his age, he had an inexplicable sense of trepidation. The other heavenly prides were also shocked and in awe. On the viewing platform, Chu Ruoshi looked at this scene with complicated feelings. There was a sense of relief, but also surprise. However, the current Duguju made her feel even more disgusted. Xiaohoing was just a big hulk, but at least she was rather normal. As for Duguju, he was completely like a block of ice, heartlessly cold, making people feel chilly just by looking at him from afar. Chapter 555. Chapter 555. Chapter 296. One person, one sword, sweeping in all directions. Chapter 555. Chapter 296. One person, one sword, sweeping in all directions. Lise, reading on Zavel. M on the dark gold-colored stage. Duguju stood alone with his saber, looking down with cold eyes at the many heavenly prides. Fighting one by one will take too long. Whoever wishes to win the championship and become the Celestial Strategy Army Commander, come up all at once, said Duguju indifferently. With that sentence, silence fell upon the arena. Duguju was completely disregarding all heavenly prides, challenging them all at once. Xiahou Ying's face turned extremely gloomy, thinking what an arrogant fellow. A fierce look flashed in Yi Xingxuan's eyes. Both Xiao Yun and Xiao Qingyu had unpleasant expressions on their faces. Even the Martial Arts Academy's saints, Wuchen, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu, had slightly furrowed brows. They thought Duguju was simply too conceited. So many heavenly prides together would be enough to suppress even a powerful peak Golden Core realm expert. Perhaps Duguju believed himself to be truly invincible, possessing battle prowess similar to a celestial human venerable. Duguju glanced at Yi Xingxuan, saying calmly, "Yi Xingxuan, you are the foremost among the young generation of Qing province and have fought against Wuchen. You are qualified to step onto the stage and battle me." He then turned to look at Xiao Yun. "Xiao Yun, you are the #1 heavenly pride of the younger generation in Wu province and should also be qualified. Gao Yingqian and Qin Yi as well. You both are on par with Xiaohoing, top-tier heavenly prides among the younger generation of Central Province. Come up together." Finally, Duguju's gaze fell on Nangong Shui. Coldly, he said, "Nangong Shui, since you have managed to rise above all heavenly prides and obtain the first position on the heavenly pride stele, your strength must not be lacking. I have high expectations. In any case, today, I, Duguju, shall fight all of you heavenly prides with just my saber." Duguju's voice was chilly as he stood wielding his saber, his robe fluttering and his black hair dancing in the wind. Upon the stage, he suddenly became the center of attention at the Heavenly Pride Convention. Countless Heavenly Prides and Golden Core experts were all dumbfounded. Even the Venerables present wore expressions of astonishment. They could see that Duguju was merely in the late Golden Core realm. Among the Heavenly Prides, no one could match him. Even Nangong Shui was only at the Middle Golden Core realm. However, regardless of whether it was Yi Xingxuan, Xiao Yun, Shen Miaoi, or Fan Feiyu, they were all at least at the Golden Core realm and Heavenly Pride tier experts, possessing formidable divine abilities and battle prowess. It could be said that any of these people could easily defeat an ordinary Middle Golden Core realm expert, especially Nangong Shui, who possessed the extreme Yin physique. Even some late Golden Core realm experts present dared not say for certain that they could defeat her. But now Duguju dared to challenge all the Heavenly Prides, alone with just a saber. Duguju, you are too arrogant. Let me learn from your prowess. With a cold shout, Deng Wuqing stomped the ground, causing it to tremble in all directions. His body leaped into the air, and the moment he ascended the stage, his long saber was unsheathed. He performed an utterly domineering slash towards Duguju, a saber cultivation expert among the Heavenly Prides and a martial academy's saint child. Deng Wuqing's strength and talent were by no means inferior to anyone present. However, Duguju had not even mentioned him, which made him very disgruntled. And so he launched a powerful attack as soon as he made his move. Jejun, Duguju's thoughts moved to release a lonely saber intent, black and full of sharpness, emitting a cold brightness. Saber chi soared into the sky, sending out an instant burst of heavenly saber light, coming quickly and leaving just as quickly, like a meteor from beyond the heavens. Clang! The collision of saber lights set off a roaring sound. The runes above the stage shone brightly, preventing the battle from spreading while the mysterious light seemed to be cut open by a crack. Swish! The terrifying, despair-inducing saber intent emitted a chilling howl, seeming to leave no room for resistance. Those present who had passed the ascension steps were all Heavenly Prides, with at least second level of the rune seed realm. Yet in the face of this scattering saber intent, they felt nothing but despair. This person's saber intent has reached the realm of perfection. No wonder he is so powerful, said a celestial being as they resolved the scattered saber intent, their eyes full of intense shock. Perfection saber intent. Everyone's eyes widened, somewhat disbelieving what they had just heard. Perfection signified that the saber intent had reached its limit, unable to advance any further. Next would be the legendary realm, a level only spoken of in legends and never reached by anyone. Even among celestial humans, very few could elevate their saber intent to the realm of perfection. And yet, Duguju had managed to elevate his saber intent to perfection. What kind of horrifying comprehension ability was this? Deng Wuqing stood rigidly on the stage, his face silent and his body trembling. Had it not been for the other's slight deviation of that strike, he might already have become a corpse. Even so, his pride and self-confidence had been completely shattered by that previous attack. Duguju, Yi Xingxuan's face became even more solemn. Even if he had cultivated his strongest divine ability to the second level, he would not be confident in facing Duguju's earlier strike. As for the other Heavenly Prides, they too felt a chill down their spines when they looked at Duguju on the stage. Martial Academy's saint children, except for a few, the rest are just like this in my eyes, said Duguju coldly. Killing one's spirit was no clearer than this. At this moment, Shen Miaoi and Fan Feiyu both flashed forward, leaping onto the stage, directly attacking Duguju. They had originally planned to wait and see for a while before making their move. Chapter 556, Chapter 556, Chapter 296, One person, one sword, sweeping in all directions, _2, Chapter 556, Chapter 296, One person, one sword, sweeping in all directions, _to Lise, reading on Zavel. But Duguju didn't even notice these saint children and saintesses, which made him outrageously arrogant. Duguju, don't think you're invincible just because you've defeated Xiaoheng and Deng Wuqing. Shen Miaoi raised her hand, and the vast and powerful laws transformed into whip-like projections, shooting out. Fan Feiyu also made a move, with nearly 100 runes appearing. Each rune was filled with the vast laws, like a row of green stars, bombarding Duguju. Duguju didn't care. He blasted out a palm, dense runes erupted, endless laws transformed into a golden torrent, sweeping towards Shen Miaoi. With his other hand, he wielded a treasured saber, slashing towards Fan Feiyu. Boom! It was like a volcanic eruption or a collision of stars. A tremendous fluctuation was born, and the dark gold battle platform shook slightly. After one round of exchange, Shen Miaoi was hit with a powerful impact, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and her beautiful body was knocked to the edge of the battle platform. As a martial arts academy's saintess, she couldn't even withstand one of Duguju's moves. Fan Feiyu was even worse off, with a shocking wound on her delicate body after bearing a single slash from Duguju. After this exchange, they finally realized that they were far from being Duguju's opponents. At this moment, Gao Yingqian and Qin Yi below the platform glanced at each other and made their moves as well. They, like Duguju, were famous heavenly prides of the central province. However, Duguju was the heavenly pride of the hidden Dugu family, an anomaly in the family who abandoned the family's swordsmanship inheritance and cultivated saber cultivation. Duguju, let me fight you. Gao Yingqian's eyes flashed with cold light, stomping on the ground, and the billowy waves like dragons surged, along with vast laws sweeping towards Duguju. Laws rolled over, and the turbulent waves obscured the view. From amidst the hazy water mist, a giant axe fell with a world-opening power. On the other side, Qin Yi also wielded his long spear and attacked. Clang! With a deflection of the laws and a dispersion of the mist, 3 figures appeared. They saw that Gao Yingqian's giant axe was blocked by a saber, unable to fall. As for Qin Yi's long spear, it was held by a fair-skinned hand, unable to advance. You are also known as heavenly prides like me. Is this all you've got? Duguju sneered. Humph, this was just an appetizer. Gao Yingqian's expression darkened, his giant axe harnessing the combined energy of the heavens and earth, while runes in his body twinkled. Dense and vast laws poured onto the giant axe like a long river. His axe techniques had reached a realm of perfection, and when combined with his powerful physique, no one at the same level could match him head-on. Too weak. Duga City's lips moved, and the silent saber intent suddenly erupted. In an instant, countless saber chi covered the entire battle platform, making it impossible for those below to see what was happening. They only faintly sensed that the battle platform was enveloped by a desolate atmosphere, even affecting them below. When their emotions recovered, they saw Gao Yingqian flying backward and falling off the platform. Next, Duguju stepped forward, and a wild elephant phantom appeared behind him, as if a giant monster was trampling on the sky. This was Duguju's body refining technique, wild elephant suppressing mountain. Bang! Duguju's foot stomped heavily on Qin Yi's long spear. Immediately, Qin Yi felt a mountainous force acting on his spear, causing his arms to tremble, almost unable to hold on. His body flipped as if the heavens were turned upside down. Then nearly 1 billion pounds of force acted upon him. Bang! Qin Yi was directly crushed and flew out, his body smashing into the ground below the platform. For a moment, the place was dead silent. The atmosphere in the entire arena was terrifyingly quiet. Neither the martial arts academy's saints, nor the long-time famous heavenly prides of the central province, Qin Yi and Gao Yingqian, stood a chance against Duguju. This was truly terrifying. Duguju's strength is just too overpowering. Yes, Deng Wuqing, Xia Hoing, and the others, anyone could sweep us. But even though they are so powerful, they couldn't withstand 2 moves from Duguju. Not only has he reached perfection in saber intent, his physique is also extremely powerful. Xiao Yun was completely stunned at this point. "Let me fight you." At this time, Yi Xingxuan moved, making his move. The moment he moved, a dazzling star river surged above his head, with rolling stars rumbling and vibrating with astonishing fluctuations. Finally, someone with a bit of strength has appeared. Duguju murmured. From the moment Yi Xingxuan burst out, he realized that his strength was a bit stronger than Xia Hoing and the others. Of course, it was just a little bit. With one slash, a huge saber imprint appeared in the air, splitting the falling stars in half. Yi Xingxuan's powerful divine ability was directly broken by a slash from Duguju, and his figure violently retreated. The guardian power of the stars around him trembled, and his blood churned within him. As expected, even Yi Xingxuan is no match for him. Seeing Yi Xingxuan's divine ability broken by Duguju's saber imprint, Xiao Yun shook his head. "Before we left, the Supreme Elder said not to let us tarnish the Xiao family's reputation. Aren't you going up there to fight him?" "Xia," Qingyu said from the side. "I won't win if I go up there," Xiao Yun said with a bitter smile. "There's a difference between not being able to win and not being willing to fight." "All right, you have a point." Chapter 557, Chapter 557, Chapter 296, One Man, One Knife, Sweeping All Directions, _3, Chapter 557, Chapter 296, One Man, One Knife, Sweeping All Directions, _3 Lise, reading on Zavel. Suddenly, a battle intent emerged from Xiao Yun. "Duguju, Xiao Yun, am here to test you." Out of the blue, Xiao Yun soared into the sky, his hands inciting a scorching heat that radiated forth, as if his body was enveloped in an endless sea of magma. Then, in the firmament, a palm print emerged, coloring the sky into a boundless sea of fire. This is the Xiao family's inherited divine ability, Fire God Palm. Some people express surprise. The Fire God Palm was a potent divine ability, with the palm being able to incinerate everything. Nothing could withstand it. The Xiao family from the Qing province. Duguju murmured to himself. The Qing province's Xiao family was most famous for a heavenly pride who lived 800 years ago, whose pyromantic divine abilities were almost unbeatable. Later, he vanished from the public eye, just like the Yuan emperor. The one who disappeared with him was a patriarch from his own Dugu family. The patriarch from the Dugu family was a peerless swordsmanship demon who had once fought alongside the Yuan emperor, slaughtering demon beasts and suppressing the 100 sects, demonstrating extremely powerful swordsmanship. Unless he had awakened some memories, he would obediently accept the swordsmanship inheritance from the Dugu family. His thoughts switched. He reigned with pure sword pressure, relying on his physical strength, along with his perfect saber intent. Even without using his divine abilities, he overwhelmed Xiao Yun directly. With a swoosh, the burning sky was set alight, and everything was ignited by the fire god Palm, which was wiped away by a single blow from Duguju. The sky was full of saber light, and Xiao Yun's face dramatically changed. He only felt an unstoppable edge attacking him, the depths of his heart dominated by a sense of loneliness. Then his flesh was hit by an extremely powerful force, all his bones shattered, and he was sent flying backwards. Seeing Xiao Yun get blasted away by a single blow, those old Golden Core realm powerhouses were once again shocked and started to lose their composure. This Duguju, was he truly invincible? Out of the tens of thousands of heavenly prides, was there really no one who could match him? All the people's gazes slowly fell on Nangong Shui. After the likes of Yi Xingxuan, Xiao Yun, and the others were successively defeated, it seemed that only Nangong Shui was the one they could rely on. With the extremely Yin constitution inherited from the legendary Nangong family, she should have some hope of defeating Duguju, right? Among all the people, Chu Ruoshi least wanted Duguju to win. Duguju, as a person, was rather aloof. The saber intent he displayed illustrated his ruthless path. If he indeed won the Heavenly Pride Convention, the consequences would be unpredictable. Therefore, she placed her last hope on Nangong Shui. Duguju's indifferent eyes were now also looking at Nangong Shui, as if to say, "I am waiting for you, fight me." Feeling the many eyes gathering on her, Nangong Shui slightly shook her head. Although she was gifted with a powerful constitution, she had only broken through the Golden Core realm less than 2 years ago. A normal late-stage Golden Core was something she could handle with her formidable talent. But Duguju, the power he demonstrated, wasn't comparable to a typical late-stage Golden Core. Even those old peak Golden Core monsters were likely inferior. With such a huge power gap, what use would it be to go on? To be knocked off the stage by someone else's move? I am not your match right now. The title of the convention and the position of the Celestial Strategy Army Commander are yours. Nangong Shui's cold voice instantly silenced Skywall City. She had confessed defeat, just like that, conceding the convention championship and the position of the Celestial Strategy Army. To Duguju, there was also the title of Prince Consort. Duguju was slightly surprised, as he had not predicted Nangong Shui's swift concession. However, he was merely surprised for a moment. Quickly recovering, he replied monotonously, "No, the Heavenly Pride Convention is not over yet." "It's not over yet. Don't tell me you really intend to challenge all of us at once." Xiaoheng said coldly. Duguju ignored Xiaoheng and instead turned his gaze to a secluded corner. "Since you are here, why not come onto the stage and fight me?" Hearing these words, everyone looked in surprise towards the corner. Surprisingly, they saw a young man dressed in a star robe with a beautiful face. Chapter 558. Chapter 558. Chapter 297. Taking Action, Dark Destruction Blade. Chapter 558. Chapter 297. Taking Action, Dark Destruction Blade Lease. Reading on Zavel. This young man, although he appears to have an extraordinary temperament, is only at the peak of the Rune Seed realm. At the peak of the Rune Seed realm. Although not bad, he definitely couldn't be considered top-notch compared to Xiaoyan Yi Xingchen and others. Why did Duguju suddenly target this person? Perhaps he and this young man had a grudge. While some people were puzzled, someone gazed at Lu Yun's face, as if thinking of something, and exclaimed, "It's him! It's him! Yes, it's him." Subsequently, more people recognized the identity of the youth. Yes, it is him, the only monster who climbed to the top of the Heavenly Pride Steel. I did not expect him to be here. However, he looks a bit weak, merely at the peak of the Rune Seed realm. People like Xiaoheng can easily crush him. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Lu Yun had a faint smile on his face. He did not expect that even if he hid so low-key in a remote corner, he would still be discovered. In fact, no one had noticed him before because everyone's attention was on Xiaoheng and the other talented individuals, and no one would focus on a heavenly pride at the Rune Seed realm. However, after practicing divine elephant suppressing prison strength, his blood and qi became increasingly powerful, making it impossible to hide. Duguju also practiced a powerful body refinement method and had felt the terrifying and surging qi in Lu Yun's body as soon as he arrived. What surprised and shocked him, however, was that this young man turned out to be the mysterious monster who had topped the Heavenly Pride Steel by overpowering numerous Heavenly Prides. So it's really him? Nangong Shui, who had readily admitted defeat earlier, narrowed her eyes slightly. She was very curious about the person who surpassed her and climbed to the top of the heavenly pride stele. However, Lu Yun had never revealed his name and did not even leave it on the heavenly pride stele. Even the heavenly prides present did not know him. Only Qin Feng had interacted with him, but he only knew that the other party's last name was Lu. As for where he came from, it remained a secret. Is this person the mysterious and powerful demon rumored to have climbed to the top of the heavenly pride stele? However, our realms are equal. How could he have climbed to the top? Chu Ruoshi was slightly surprised and asked Chu Juanxia, who was standing beside her. Juanxia, with the intelligence and information you have, do you know anything about this person? Chu Juanxia bitterly smiled and said, my influence is limited to the central province. This person is not one of the heavenly pride here, so I don't know anything about him. However, don't pin your hopes on him. Although his talent and potential surpass all the young heavenly prides, his realm is too low. He is only at the peak of the rune seed realm and is no match for Duguju. Hearing this, Chu Ruox's expression darkened, feeling that her future was bleak without any light. What, you don't dare to fight me? Duguju's indifferent voice broke the silence and drowned out the murmurs. All of the heavenly prides, golden core old monsters, and celestial human venerables looked at Lu Yun, wanting to see how he would choose. Would this mysterious monster graciously admit defeat like Nangong Shui, or would he, like Yi Xingxuan and others, go to battle with Duguju? Duguju's eyes were also fixed on Lu Yun, seemingly eager and excited. When fighting the top heavenly prides like Yi Xingxuan and Xiaoyun, he always maintained a cold and disdainful attitude. However, there was a faint trace of fighting spirit in his eyes when he looked at Lu Yun. Based on intuition alone, he could tell that his opponent was much stronger than Yi Xingxuan and the others. Upon hearing this, Lu Yun merely shook his head faintly. Your strength is not bad, but for me, it is too weak. As soon as the words fell, the entire venue fell silent. Everyone looked at each other, seeing shock in each other's eyes. Did I hear wrong just now? He actually said Duguju is too weak. You didn't hear incorrectly. Although his talent is unparalleled in the world, with only the rune seed realm, where did he get the confidence to say Duguju is too weak? Could it be that he had hidden his cultivation realm? After the silence, a wave of clamor ensued. Duguju's expression did not change, but the other heavenly prides could no longer hold back. His domination over all the heavenly prides caused them to be considered as weak as ants in comparison. This statement from Lu Yun instantly offended all the heavenly prides present. Xia Hoying's face darkened to the extreme. A hint of displeasure flashed in Yi Xingxuan's eyes. Both Xin Miaoyi and Fan Feiyu had unhappy expressions on their faces. As for Deng Wuqing, he felt even more annoyed. He had just been defeated by Duguju, and now another incredibly arrogant fellow appeared. The one who remained calm at the scene was none other than Duguju. He stood on the battlefield and said coldly, "Strength is not determined by talking. Come up and fight with me to show me how strong you are." Lu Yun remained unmoved. To him, challenging Duguju would be like bullying a child. Moreover, he had no interest in the championship of this event. He was only here to watch the show. At this time, other heavenly prides could not stand it anymore. Lu Yun's arrogance, without demonstrating specific strength to prove himself, was truly detestable to them. Xia Hoying was arrogant, but with the demonic ape bloodline, he crushed Hu Mengqin. Duguju was aloof, but alone. He continuously suppressed Xia Hoying, Yi Xingxuan, and others, so that none of the heavenly prides dared to fight him. Chapter 559, Chapter 559, Chapter 297, Taking Action, Dark Destruction Blade, _2, Chapter 559, Chapter 297, Taking Action, Dark Destruction Blade underscore Tulis, reading on Zavel. Their arrogance and pride were built on practical actions. This guy who climbed to the top of the heavenly pride steel didn't show any strength, yet he despised all of them. How could these proud and lofty people bear it? Duguju shook his head slightly and said indifferently, I thought I had met a worthy opponent, but you don't even dare to step on the battlefield. Lu Yun's figure shook, and he glanced in Yuan Emperor's direction. After hesitating for a while, the corners of his mouth smiled faintly, and the ground beneath his feet trembled. His figure soared like a rock, eventually landing on the battlefield. Your provocation is clumsy, but it worked, Lu Yun said faintly. However, having only you alone is not enough. What do you mean by that? Duguju's face darkened. Looking at Lu Yun at this moment, he felt a hint of danger. However, the other party was too arrogant. Simply put, you alone are too weak. All the heavenly prides above the Golden Core realm come up together. With his hands behind his back, Lu Yun stood up. His star robe fluttered, his hair fluttered, and his voice was not loud, but it clearly reached everyone's ears. Boom! This statement was like a rolling boulder crashing into the vast sea, creating waves that reached the sky. All the heavenly prides were dumbfounded, looking at Lu Yun with strange eyes. This guy was not just arrogant. Lu Yun also had his own hidden difficulties. He really didn't want to be so high profile and just wanted to attend the Heavenly Pride Convention and then go to the Origin Martial Academy. However, just as he was about to reject Duguju's challenge, Yuan Emperor suddenly sent him a message. If he wins the championship of the Heavenly Pride Convention, he will be rewarded with a superior treasure. The highest grade treasures he had on him were the Netherworld Gate and the Sky Brilliant Sword, both of which are only mid-level treasures. Even with the support of the 7-color stone, it could only be equivalent to an ordinary top-grade treasure. If he could obtain a top-grade treasure and the support of the 7-color stone, then that is why the superior treasure held such a great temptation for Lu Yun. However, the Yuan Emperor had a condition, which was to show absolute strength and subdue all the heavenly prides. The better the effect achieved, the higher the grade of the superior treasure he would receive. As a result, Lu Yun had no choice but to adopt such an arrogant attitude and challenge everyone. Except for Lu Yun himself, no one else knew about the Yuan Emperor's transmission. Facing the arrogant Lu Yun, Duguju was a bit unhappy, but his face remained unchanged. No need, the others are too weak. I alone can fight you. Duguju no longer wasted words and directly took action. The long saber in his hand horizontally slashed through the sky and the earth, aiming directly at Lu Yun. Sigh. Lu Yun shook his head with a bitter smile and reached out his right hand with all 59 imperishable golden bones, releasing divine light. The halo surrounded him, golden light soared, and the scene seemed like a hand covering the heavens and the earth. Boom! With one palm strike, the dazzling halo and overwhelming pressure seemed to imprison the void. All movement stopped, and the saber that could easily kill late-stage Golden Core realm cultivators was directly crushed. Then, with a bang, Duguju was completely suppressed and deeply plunged into the battlefield, with rubble flying and runes breaking. Even when Duguju went all out before, the dark golden battlefield remained undamaged. Now, with Lu Yun barely exerting any effort, it almost collapsed. Looking at this scene, there was a moment of silence among the crowd. Inside Skywall City, it became so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Young heavenly prides, Golden Core realm old monsters, and celestial humans all stared wide-eyed, full of shock and horror. Such a powerful Duguju was pressed into the battlefield by Lu Yun in just one palm strike. This was simply terrifying. How do I feel that the one who just made the move was a real celestial human? Yeah, it's terrifying. Duguju, who is so strong, was suppressed as soon as he said it. Which golden core, realm, has such strength? With just one move, Lu Yin shattered all previous doubts. How is this possible? Isn't he at the peak of the rune seed realm? How could his strength be so powerful? Deng Wuking's face was stupefied. He thought that Lu Yun was only blessed with incredible talent. In terms of strength, any golden core, realm, heavenly pride could easily crush him. But it didn't seem that way now. They had been easily defeated by Duguju, but Duguju was sent flying into the battle platform by a single palm strike from him. This contrast highlighted Lu Yun's strength even more. What a terrifying guy. Yi Xingyun was completely shocked, and his gaze towards Lu Yun was filled with amazement and fear. Where did this heavenly pride come from? Even Wu Chen, at his age, would probably be far inferior to him. Shen Miaoi murmured in surprise, unable to help but whisper softly. Fan Feiyu was also very unsettled. Although Wu Chen is extremely talented at this age, he had just begun to condense rune seeds. In the stands, Chu Ruashi saw this scene, and her pretty face was first shocked, then filled with joy. Finally, someone had defeated that cold-hearted ice cube, Duguju. Moreover, this person seemed to be about the same age as her, and was quite good-looking. It seemed like a good choice to summon him as her prince consort. Thinking of this, Chu Ruox's face couldn't help but turn slightly red. On the battle platform, Duguju slowly stood up, his face colder than ever. He knew he had encountered a formidable opponent, whose strength far exceeded his expectations. Unless he used his trump card, it was impossible to compete. Saber, come forth. With a low growl, a dark radiance burst forth from the void in front of Duguju. It immediately shook the battle platform, and the heavens and earth roared. What's going on? Such terrifying momentum. Everyone gasped in shock, their eyes wide in disbelief as they stared at the battle platform. The black light was brilliant, like a black flame from a deep abyss, carrying a destructive aura as it twisted and nearly collapsed the void. What kind of power was this? It was terrifying. Lu Yun immediately sidestepped. Although he had absolute confidence in his own body and strength, the power contained in the black saber light made him feel a hint of danger. Even just a hint made it necessary for him to evade. After all, he didn't want to fall into an unexpected crisis. The black saber light was terrifying. As it flew out, it struck the edge of the battle platform, and the incredibly hard, profound stone was actually cut open. How horrifying! This was a unanimous sentiment of all the heavenly prides. Even the profound stone that constructed the battle platform had been cut. Such power went far beyond their understanding. Is that the power of a spirit weapon, a celestial human, revered, one exclaimed in disbelief. The Yuan emperor murmured, "The kid from the Dugu family has good luck." That spirit weapon is no ordinary weapon. Although it's sealed, it's enough to make him invincible among celestial humans. At this moment, Yi Xingxuan, Xiao Yun, and others were all looking at the black long saber in Duguju's hand. Envy and jealousy filled their eyes. A spirit artifact was considered a treasure in their respective families, and even the family head couldn't use it casually. Yet Duguju actually possessed one. I really didn't want to use the black Nether Annihilation Saber, but you're too powerful. Under Duguju's urging, the black Nether Annihilation Saber revealed an ancient aura. As expected of a spirit weapon, it's quite powerful. Lu Yun said with a smile on his face, although his heart was not as calm as he appeared. A spirit weapon. It's really a spirit weapon. How did this guy come across such incredible luck? Seeing the black Nether Annihilation Saber in Duguju's hand, Lu Yun's heart was filled with envy compared to spirit weapons. The the superior treasures promised by the Yuan Emperor suddenly seemed unappealing. Take another strike from me. Seeing Lu Yun evading, Duguju's heart filled with immense confidence. The terrifying saber light struck out from the black nether annihilation saber, tearing apart a huge gap in the void of the battle platform, and the destructive force slashed towards Lu Yun. This power is already barely reaching the celestial human realm. The two celestial human, revered, one seated beside the Yuan Emperor, chuckled. I really want to take that saber for myself. Lu Yun shook his head slightly and restrained his thoughts. Not to mention that the other party was a disciple of the Dugu family with a powerful background. Now there were so many celestial humans watching the battle. To forcibly snatch, it would be courting death. In that case, let me experience the power of a spirit weapon. Lu Yun muttered, with his immense blood chi rising. A golden divine elephant phantom emerged behind him. Divine elephant suppressing prison strength. Activate. Chapter 560, Chapter 560, Chapter 298. 11 powerhouses join forces. Suppressing the divine elephant. Chapter 560. Chapter 298. 11 powerhouses join forces. Suppressing the divine elephant lease. Reading on Zavel. Under the scrutiny of thousands, Duguju channeled the power of the spirit weapon, the black nether annihilation saber, and unleashed his mightiest strike. The blade light tore through the void, ripping a terrifying crack in space, as if it would sever the battle stage and the heavens and earth themselves. Meanwhile, Lu Yun incited the divine elephant, suppressing prison strength. Powerful energy surged, awakening mighty elephants and their terrifying strength from within. A deafening roar erupted, brilliant divine lights blossomed, and a golden divine elephant phantom appeared, occupying half of the battle stage. The divine elephant threw a punch, pouring out its terrifying power as if a golden river cascading from the stars. The clash of two moves carrying ultimate power caused the wind and thunder to tremble, the earth to shake, and an overwhelming wave of energy to burst forth, sweeping in all directions. Even with the protection of mysterious runes, the dark golden battle stage was littered with flying debris, and the protective aura surrounding it was shattered by the intense fluctuation. The terrifying aftermath continued to spread, and the surrounding heavenly prides felt an intense crisis. If caught up in it, they would certainly sustain severe injuries, if not death. However, with so many celestial humans present, the aftermath barely spread beyond the stage before it was neutralized by a celestial human's intervention. Within the prior terrifying clash, a figure, like a bird with broken wings, plummeted from the high battle stage, blood gushing out. As for the black nether annihilation saber, it seemed reluctant, wanting to explode with even more terrifying power, but it was sealed by a prohibition on the blade, leaving it to tremble incessantly. Duguju's gaze was firmly fixed on the center of the battle stage. He was sent flying, but the strongest strike released by the power of the black nether annihilation saber could not be easily dealt with, even by a true celestial human. Therefore, he believed that Lu Yun's condition wouldn't be much better than his own. However, when the shining light slowly dissipated and the residual ripples gradually calmed, returning the battle stage to its original state. Atop it, Lu Yun, clad in a star robe and bearing the complexion of jade, still stood aloofly in place. It seemed as if the previous collision had hardly affected him at all. What? Duguju's indifferent face instantly transformed into shock and disbelief. He had even brought out the black nether annihilation saber, and still posed no threat, let alone managed to inflict the slightest harm. At this moment, he suspected that his opponent was not a cultivator at the peak of the rune seed realm, but a genuine celestial human, and one with an extraordinarily strong physique. Indeed, with a spirit weapon, you have achieved invincibility in the golden core realm. But I have already surpassed that level. By your power alone, You are incapable of posing a threat to me. Lu Yun looked down at Duguju and shook his head slightly. Even before he cultivated the divine elephant-suppressing prison strength, his strength was already incredibly close to that of a celestial human. Now, with thousands of microparticles within his body awakened into elephants, they had increased his strength by nearly 1 billion pounds. Coupled with the transformative evolution of his physical body, his overall strength has thoroughly evolved. He was not a celestial human, yet he had the strength surpassing that of one. At this incredibly powerful stage, even if Duguju could summon the blade spirit of Black Nether Annihilation Saber, he would still be no match for Lu Yun. Brother Lu, Qin Feng, amidst the crowd, watched in stupefied awe, his emotions incredibly complex. For a time, he found himself at a loss for words. After overpowering Duguju, the heavenly prides beneath the battle stage dared not fight again. Lu Yun felt it was enough and gave a glance towards the Yuan Emperor. He meant to say, it should be about time, right? However, the Yuan Emperor subtly shook his head. I hope you trample all the heavenly prides here under your feet, completely crushing their arrogance. The Yuan Emperor's voice echoed in Lu Yun's sea of consciousness. Upon hearing this, Lu Yun smiled wryly. This was indeed a tough task. However, for the sake of superior treasures, he decided to go all out. His expression turned cold. Standing at the battle stage, he looked down at the many heavenly prides. As I said before, it's not that I don't want to fight you, it's that in my eyes, you are thoroughly weak. Well, no, Duguju can barely withstand 1 or 2 of my moves, while everyone else is nothing more than trash. After finishing, Lu Yun glanced casually at the many heavenly prides, intentionally observing their reactions. As expected, all of the heavenly prides wore extremely ugly expressions. Now, it'll give you an opportunity to prove you're not trash, but heavenly prides. Step onto the stage, defeat me, and you'll be termed as heavenly prides. Otherwise, you're nothing but trash. Lu Yun's voice was clear and cold, his gaze arrogant, looking down on all the heavenly prides. At this moment, his demeanor was utterly arrogant, bordering on madness. Those heavenly prides below gritted their teeth in hatred, yet dared not step onto the stage. Lu Yun's strength was there for all to see. The incredibly powerful Duguju was suppressed single-handedly by him. Even when he activated the power of his spirit weapon, he couldn't even harm a single hair on Lu Yun's body. This kind of strength was already so formidable that it left them looking up in awe. Compared to him, we are really weak. Though he spoke harshly, in comparison to him, our talent and strength indeed seem like trash. For a moment, all the heavenly prides were intimidated by Lu Yun's impressive strength. They sought various reasons within their hearts. I admit you're very strong compared to us, but you shouldn't belittle all the heavenly prides of Marine. Yi Xingxuan stepped forward, surrounded by countless runes. Within each rune, a profound rule surged. He was stepping on the void, with each step creating ripples in the void. He seemed to be ascending a heavenly ladder, constantly rising and landing on the battle stage. Chapter 561, Chapter 561, Chapter 298, 11 powerhouses join forces, suppressing the divine elephant _2. Chapter 561, Chapter 298, 11 powerhouses join forces, suppressing the divine elephant _2 lease, reading on Zavel. Not bad. You dare to come on stage and fight me, even if your strength is garbage, but in terms of courage, you are worthy of the title Heavenly Pride. Lu Yun nodded slightly. And me. Xiao Yun's figure moved, stirring up a sea of flames. Next, Xia Hoing, Hu Mengqing, Gao Yingqian, and Qin Yi also took the stage one after another. Lu Yun nodded slightly, with a gratified smile on his face. Then, He turned his gaze to Deng Wuqing, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu. Facing a strong enemy that surpasses oneself, is it not courageous to fight? Is this the saint child and saintess of the martial academy? If it's really like that, I am really disappointed. What Lu Yun said was also his true thoughts. At first, he thought that the martial academy's saint child in the Morijin states, whether in talent or strength, were absolutely top-notch, and no one could surpass them. In the Demon Suppression Army, the several martial academies' saint child, even the weakest, Nangong Rai, was in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Their actual combat power was not weaker than Duguju. However, it was only through this Heavenly Pride convention that he discovered that the so-called martial academies' saint child were just some relatively powerful Heavenly Prides. Humph! We are just the bottom of the martial academy's saint child. The truly powerful ones can suppress you with a simple move. Deng Wuqing's expression turned cold, his long saber drawn out, and he stepped onto the stage once more. Shen Miaoi and Fan Feiyu moved gracefully, flying onto the stage, and their beautiful eyes looking at Lu Yun were filled with anger. At this moment, Yi Xingxuan, Xiao Yun, Xia Hoing, Hu Mengqing, Gao Yingqian, Qin Yi, Deng Wuqing, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu, a full 9 heavenly prides, all at the same time, took the stage, surrounding Lu Yun. This scene was extremely shocking. It is important to know that these 9 heavenly prides, the weakest of them had mid-stage Golden Core realm combat power. When 9 people joined together, I'm afraid no one at the Golden Core realm level could deal with them. However, Lu Yun still shook his head. Even if the 9 of you work together, I'm afraid you won't be able to deal with Duguju, let alone defeat me, and regain the dignity of the heavenly prides. It's far from enough. You are indeed strong, but with only the strength of several of them, you can probably just be suppressed with a casual slap. In that case, let me join them. Duguju spoke indifferently, with a calm expression on his face. At this moment, he had returned to his previous cold demeanor. Lu Yun still shook his head, as if waiting. You are really hateful. The 10 of us are the most powerful among all the heavenly prides, and yet you are still not satisfied. Xia Hoing said coldly. Yi Xingxuan said, No, there is still one more. One more? Who? Yi Xingxuan didn't answer, but his gaze fell on Nangong Shui, who stood gracefully. The other heavenly prides also reacted at this time and looked at Nangong Shui together. Suddenly being the focus of so many gazes, Nangong Shui also couldn't pretend that nothing had happened. Is Nangong Shui going to take action? Many heavenly prides shouted. Before the Heavenly Pride Convention, Nangong Shui was hardly known, but since ranking on the Heavenly Pride Stele, her fame had already spread throughout the Morijin. Nangong Shui walked out of the crowd and stepped into the void, but she did not step onto the stage. In the void, her white clothes fluttered, and her black hair draped over her shoulders. Her eyes were incredibly lively, and her beautiful face was breathtaking. If you want us to fight you, it's possible. But before this, shouldn't you let everyone know who the top 11 heavenly prides of Morijin are joining forces to fight against? Looking at Lu Yun standing on the stage dozens of feet away, Nangong Shui's eyes were filled with crystal-clear luster. Everyone heard this and turned their gaze to Lu Yun. Even now, they still knew nothing about Lu Yun. He seemed to have jumped out of a rock without any reputation, and even when he reached the top of the Heavenly Pride Stele, he did not leave any traces. But it was such a person who pressed down on the strongest among them, Duguju, and rubbed him on the ground. Now, he challenged them all with a strong attitude, declaring war on them. Remember, the one who steps on you is the Flying Spirit Martial Academy's saint child, Lu Yun. Lu Yun's eyes were indifferent. Lu Yun, very well, I'll remember you. Duguju activated his perfected saber intent, pouring it into the black Nether Annihilation saber. Thousands of saber shadows fell from the void simultaneously. Xiao Yun bit his finger, dripping golden blood on his brow. Surging red flames rolled out like a torrential flood. It's the Xiao family's 10 Directions fire domain. It's said that this divine ability's fire can burn everything. Some golden core elders exclaimed. Yi Xingxuan waved both hands as star power surged, and countless stars rolled overhead. As his hands waved, the stars restructured, forming a huge star wheel. So strong, what divine ability is this? It feels even more powerful than the 10 Directions fire domain that Xiao Yun used. Seeing Yi Xingxuan's divine ability, many experts' expressions changed drastically, showing disbelief. He didn't use all his strength when he fought Duguju before. As their gazes shifted from Yi Xingxuan, Xiahou Wing also made a move, directly activating the demonic ape's bloodline power. His momentum doubled instantly, and slashes pierced out, ripples of void emerged. This was one of the Xiahou clan's divine abilities, Void Slash. Lu Yun was simply too powerful. If they didn't use their strongest divine abilities, he didn't know if he would get the chance to use them. Hu Mengqing, Gao Yingqian, Qin Yi, Deng Wuqing, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu didn't dare to slack either, each displaying their most potent divine abilities. Nangong Shui also stepped onto the battlefield, her white clothes fluttering. Her long skirt was blown backward by the wind, outlining her slender, perfect figure. Her beauty made one's heart tremble. However, at this moment, no one paid attention to her stunning figure and looks. With a light scolding, she directly touched a treasured sword. Colorful light burst forth, and frost covered the heavens and earth, making people feel bone-chilling cold. Frost sword. Many heavenly prides had seen this sword before. It was bought by a mysterious person in a box at the purple gold auction, and now it appeared in Nangong Shui's hands. As soon as she made a move, she used this sword, showing how much she dreaded Lu Yun. The frost sword, filled with runes, released extreme coldness. With a scold, a single sword hung in the sky, instantly turning the battlefield to ice. Even the mysterious light that prevented the spread of the aftermath was frozen in an instant, and the extreme cold continued to spread, terrifying all the heavenly prides. Hiss! Nangong Shui is also so powerful. She might not be much weaker than Duguju. The heavenly prides immediately came to this conclusion. Everyone's attention was drawn to the combatants on the battlefield, with their explosive show of strength. They stared closely at the battlefield, wanting to see how Lu Yun would face them. This battle, no matter the outcome, would undoubtedly shake the world. However, Lu Yun, who was at the center of the storm, remained extremely composed. Maybe it was because his earlier fight with Duguju allowed him to gain a better understanding of his strength. Facing the attacks of the 11 powerful heavenly prides, he felt no fear or dread. He activated the divine elephant, suppressing prison strength, creating a colossal golden elephant that suppressed the void. This elephant, formed by divine power and vitality, was incredibly solid, filling the battlefield. The tremendous power it exerted scared countless heavenly prides. This is not the limit. Lu Yun once again activated all 59 imperishable golden bones in his body, and an even more potent divine power surged, making the golden elephant even more solid and lifelike. Such powerful fluctuations, such a strong divine ability. Where did Lu Yun, the saint child of Flying Spirit Martial Academy, get this? Deng Wuqing, Shen Miaoi, and Fan Feiyu were astounded, with waves of shock in their hearts. They were sure that Origin Martial Academy didn't have such a divine ability, let alone other regional martial academies. It's simply too strong. Compared to this golden elephant, Xiahou Ying's demonic ape illusion is weak as hell. I feel like even celestial humans would have to bow before this golden elephant. Feeling the enormous pressure from the lifelike golden elephant, countless heavenly prides in the audience exclaimed, "Divine elephant, suppress." Lu Yun pressed his right hand down, and the golden elephant's palm slapped downward. Boom! The sky trembled. The entire space shook, as if it would be shattered by this single slap. Chapter 562, Chapter 562, Chapter 299, Trial, Starry Sky? Chapter 562, Chapter 299, Trial, Starry Sky? Lise, reading on Zavel. In the sky above the dark golden battlefield, the massive gold-colored divine elephant pressed down its palm as if it were a hand of a god. Boom! Space burst into a storm, ripples constantly emerging, as if unable to bear the boundless divine power contained in the palm. Crack! The sounds of profound stones, making up the battlefield, exploding, resounded throughout the entire Skywall City. At this moment, everyone in Skywall City looked toward the battlefield suspended in the air, witnessing a scene they would never forget in their lifetime. Above the battlefield, an incomparably majestic, indifferent, gold-colored divine elephant shattered the void. Even the celestial humans present could not help but reveal their shock at this collision. They even felt threatened. It was hard to imagine that the battle between these heavenly prides could unleash such a powerful force. What was even more shocking was that Lu Yun, a rune seed realm heavenly pride, actually possessed such an abnormal fighting strength. As the gold-colored divine elephant's palm fell, massive aftermath shocks spread out, intending to engulf all directions. The Yuan Emperor directly intervened to control the boundless aftermath. It was as if a spatial cage restrained all the power within it, then completely absorbed it all. However, even so, the vast battlefield trembled violently, its surface completely destroyed beyond recognition. Amidst this extreme collision, the attacks of people like Yi Xingxuan were completely annihilated. Golden blood crazily surged from their mouths. Their bodies seemed to receive a powerful impact, with bones shattering throughout their bodies covered with injuries, and their breaths became extremely weak. How could he possibly be so strong? Shen Miaoi exclaimed, shocked. Yi Xingxuan's mind went blank, and the power of the stars that surrounded him almost vanished. Xiahou Ying's face showed a horrified expression. Xiao Yun, Deng Wuqing, Fan Feiyu, Hu Mengqing, and other people faced even worse situations. They were all blasted off the battlefield and could barely stand up. Out of the 11 heavenly prides, only Duguju and Nangong Shui were in relatively good shape. However, they both vomited blood, their breaths chaotic, and they no longer had the power to fight. In the end, after the huge aftermath disappeared, Lu Yun gradually appeared, standing tall on the battlefield. "You all still lost," Lu Yun slowly said. At this moment, he didn't mock them nor show the arrogant and domineering attitude he had before. He just looked down at them indifferently. "We lost, after all." Duguju sighed softly, the coldness in his aura concealed somewhat. At this moment, he had to admit that he was defeated, and that he was thoroughly defeated. Even when joining forces with others, they were all defeated by a single move from Lu Yun. Although he was still unwilling in his heart, he had to admit this fact. You are only at the peak of Rune Seed Realm, and you haven't even forged a golden core yet. How could you possibly be so powerful? Deng Wuqing's face was full of disbelief, his eyes fixed on Lu Yun. "Because I cultivated the supreme body refining method, and I also comprehended the holy body method. Any one of them is more powerful than you could imagine," Lu Yun said indifferently. "As for you, you only rely on your realm and cultivation level, so your divine abilities are very weak. How could you possibly compare to me? Holy body method. Humph! I will eventually succeed in comprehending it." Deng Wuqing snorted coldly in his heart, determined to return to the martial academy and pay any price to comprehend it. Holy Body Method, Duguju and Nangong Shui were still immersed in Lu Yun's previous move because the power contained within was too terrifying. Breaking thousands of methods with a single force, they had only heard of it before, but were now witnessing it as a reality. Lu Yun looked at the two. He still had some admiration for them. Duguju had a natural talent that was not the most amazing among them, but his fighting strength was the strongest. He also had an unparalleled spirit weapon, which made him nearly invincible under celestial humans. Nangong Shui had the strongest talent and awakened the legendary extreme Yin physique of the Nangong family with unlimited potential in the future. If you had joined the martial academy in the past, maybe you could have comprehended the Holy Body Method too, but it's a pity. Lu Yun gently shook his head. These people were all descendants of super families, and they wouldn't easily enter the martial academy. After that, he looked at the other heavenly prides and asked, "Who among you still wants to challenge me on the stage?" None of them dared to make eye contact with him, as his gaze swept over them. After the previous two attempts, they had come to deeply understand the strength and invincibility of Lu Yun. Congratulations to Saint Child Lu Yun for winning the Heavenly Pride Convention. A loud and clear voice sounded, followed by warm applause. Clap, clap, clap. It was Qin Feng, who was now extremely excited and congratulating Lu Yun. As he took the lead, the heavenly prides around him also responded one after another. Congratulations to Saint Child Lu Yun for winning the Heavenly Pride Convention. Congratulations to Saint Child Lu Yun for winning the Heavenly Pride Convention. The thunderous voices of all the heavenly prides echoed, expressing their heartfelt congratulations to Lu Yun. Although Lu Yun had previously called them weak and trash on the stage, all of their previous anger disappeared when he displayed his powerful strength and crushed Duguju and the other 10 heavenly prides. All that was left was sincere admiration. Clap, 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 clap. The clapping and cheering never stopped. Lu Yun stood proudly on the battlefield, dominating the strongest heavenly prides of Morijin, and even displaying a power that was not inferior to that of a celestial human with his rune seed realm peak cultivation level. He truly deserved the title of Morijin's most monstrous heavenly pride. I always thought that only Wuchen would be a mountain in my heart. Now, another one has appeared. Chapter 563, Chapter 563, Chapter 299, Trial, Starry Sky, _2, Chapter 563, Chapter 299, Trial, Starry Sky, _2 Lease, reading on Zavel. Yi Xingxuan thought to himself as he looked at the ethereal Lu Yun standing on the battle platform with a sense of helplessness in his eyes. 5 years ago, after being brutally defeated by Wuchen, he had changed himself and worked hard to cultivate, all to catch up with his rival. Now, without even encountering Wuchen's figure, he had suffered 2 consecutive defeats, and both thoroughly. As Lu Yun looked indifferent amid countless cheers, such things held no meaning for him. His gaze turned to the Yuan Emperor, seemingly saying, "Your Majesty, isn't it about time?" Finally, the Yuan Emperor seated on the golden throne slightly nodded. Although Lu Yun hadn't reached his standard, he had indeed subdued all the heavenly prides, and the Emperor couldn't find any fault with him. Chu Ruashi, standing nearby, couldn't help but admit that Lu Yun met her expectations for her future husband. He was around the same age as her, had exceptional talent, and breathtakingly good looks. At this moment, she secretly looked forward to it. I now announce the end of the Heavenly Pride Convention, with the champion obtained by the Flying Spirit Martial Academy's Saint Child. The Yuan Emperor hesitated for a moment, not knowing how to continue. According to the information previously released, the convention champion would be able to marry Chu Ruashi. However, Lu Yun's situation was different. He had no intention of participating in the Heavenly Pride Convention and was lured into action by a superior treasure. Ruoshi is talented and beautiful. Maybe Lu Yun will like her, thought the Yuan Emperor suddenly. If he can arrange this marriage, it would be good news for both Marine and for Ruoshi. With that thought, the Yuan Emperor spoke. Lu Yun, Flying Spirit Martial Academy's Saint Child, has extraordinary talent and achieved the championship of the Heavenly Pride Convention. From today onwards, he will be the army commander of the Celestial Strategy Army and the Prince Consort of Marine. With the Yuan Emperor's words, all directions were in an uproar. Being the Prince Consort of Marine was one thing, but being the army commander of the Celestial Strategy Army was a position that any Heavenly Pride present would aspire to. However, considering Lu Yun's monstrous strength, they stopped thinking about it. Upon hearing the announcement, Chu Ruox's face changed. She looked at Lu Yun with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Lu Yun was a little stunned. He had previously agreed to teach the Heavenly Prides a lesson for the Yuan Emperor, but he hadn't thought about becoming a prince consort. Although Chu Ruoxi was nice, he had no feelings for her. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yun spoke firmly but respectfully. Your Majesty, while the champion of the Heavenly Pride Convention can marry the princess, it is not a requirement. Therefore, please kindly retract your order concerning the matter of me becoming the prince consort. Are you saying you don't fancy Ruoshi? The emperor's expression turned cold, a faint suppression spread, and the winds and clouds of Sky Wall City changed abruptly. I am devoted to martial arts and do not care for romantic entanglements. If I were to become a prince consort, I fear I would hinder Princess Ruox's progress, said Lu Yun with an equally calm expression. Furthermore, he didn't believe the emperor would do anything to him. As expected, it didn't take long for the Yuan Emperor to withdraw his suppression. All anomalies in Sky Wall City disappeared in an instant as he said with profound eyes, "In that case, we shall drop the matter." However, the title of Army Commander of the Celestial Strategy Army you can no longer refuse. Thank you, Your Majesty. Naturally, Lu Yun did not refuse this time. It wouldn't be long before the Celestial Strategy Army would set off for the Great Wilderness to collaborate with the Monster Extermination Army in slaying demon beasts. As for him, he had already planned to venture into the Great Wilderness, so it was a convenient opportunity. Seeing Lu Yun's acceptance, a faint smile appeared on the Yuan Emperor's face. Immediately, the Emperor stood up from his golden throne, looked down at the many heavenly prides, and said indifferently, "For you to be able to stand here, you are all the best heavenly prides of my Marine. You should already know the purpose of this Heavenly Pride Convention. To wage war in the Great Wilderness slaying demons, but these are not the only goals. There is another, more crucial purpose. However, before I tell you, I have a question for you all." The heavenly prides were all curious, but dare not speak in front of the Yuan Emperor. The Emperor's gaze fell on Lu Yun, and he said softly, "Do you know why Lu Yun, who is merely at the peak of the Rune Seed realm, defeated you, the heavenly prides of the Golden Core realm, without any effort? You must be thinking that he had cultivated some kind of holy body technique. Then let me ask you, where does the holy body technique come from?" The Emperor's oppressive gaze fell upon Deng Wuqing. "You are the Martial Academy's Saint Child, so you should know." Although Deng Wuqing faced tremendous pressure, he was a Saint Child and heavenly pride, so he managed to withstand the pressure. "Reporting to Your Majesty, the holy body technique was comprehended from the divine martial enlightenment pillar, and only true heavenly prides can comprehend it. It is even more challenging to cultivate to the entry level, and among all the saint children in the Martial Academy, few have attained such entry-level cultivation. Lu Yun was able to possess such terrifying strength, perhaps because he has already cultivated a holy body technique to the entry level. He mentioned before that he had cultivated a supreme body refining method, but it seems that it does not exist within the Origin Martial Academy. Shen Miaoyi and Fan Feiyu nodded slightly. As far as they knew, there was no powerful body refining technique within the Origin Martial Academy. With their status as saint children and saintesses, they could access most of the cultivation techniques within the Origin Martial Academy. Of course, it does not exist within the Origin Martial Academy. That body refining method was a reward Lu Yun received after reaching the pinnacle of the heavenly pride stele. The Yuan Emperor said indifferently, but whether it's the holy body technique or the supreme body refining method, neither is native to Morijin. Both come from another place. Your Majesty, is that place the starry sky? Dugu Ju suddenly asked with great confidence. The Dugu family's patriarch was the first to follow the first-generation primordial emperor and disappeared. Later, when a heavenly pride emerged from the Dugu family, they disappeared silently without a trace. Although there was no trace left behind, all the signs hinted at the starry sky. That's right. The Yuan Emperor nodded decisively. These holy body techniques, and even some powerful divine abilities you cultivate, all come from the depths of the starry sky. Your Majesty, what does this have to do with our Heavenly Pride Convention and becoming part of the Celestial Strategy Army? Yi Xingxuan asked respectfully. Hearing about the starry sky, he was still able to maintain his composure. It seemed that he also knew some news. By becoming a member of the Celestial Strategy Army, you will have the opportunity to travel to the starry sky and pursue even more powerful martial arts. At these words, all the heavenly prides present were stunned. Having the opportunity to go to the starry sky, Yi Xingyan's previously listless eyes suddenly burst with radiance. The starry sky was a place where only the most talented heavenly prides would have the chance to go to. Their Yi family was the #1 aristocratic family in Qing province, but for nearly 1,000 years there had only been a handful who had the opportunity to go to that place. Now, the Yuan Emperor said that all the heavenly prides here had the opportunity to go to the starry sky, a place that countless ancestors have longed for. However, to go to that place, you will need to undergo a final trial. This trial is demon slaying. Demon slaying is not only to expand Merijin's territory and strengthen the human race, but also to help you condense and gather the human race's luck, which will grant you the qualifications to travel to the starry sky. Trial, starry sky. Lu Yun silently chanted in his heart, as this was the first time he heard such a secret. He knew some clues long ago, so he was not very shocked in his heart. On the contrary, he felt it was somewhat justified. However, the meaning of the emperor's words was that to go to the starry sky, one needed the human race's luck. As for luck, the luck value on his panel had already broken through 300, but it was unknown whether it had any connection with the human race's luck mentioned by the emperor. Without the human race's luck, it is impossible to break through the barriers and go to the starry sky. So luck is extremely important. The way for you to gain luck is simple. Just slay demon beasts, expand the territory for the human race, and you can gain luck. The more luck you gain, the more feedback you will receive from the human race's luck when you go to the starry sky. So, during this trip to the endless great wilderness, slaughter as many demon beasts as you can. After finishing his words, the Yuan Emperor left with the princes and princesses behind him. Before leaving, Chu Ruoshi glared at Lu Yun and bitterly scolded, "Lu Yun, you bastard!" At this, Lu Yun could only shake his head and smile bitterly. Chapter 564, Chapter 564, Chapter 300, Morijin Treasury, 7 Colored Divine Fruit. Chapter 564, Chapter 300, Morijin Treasury, 7 Colored Divine Fruit Lease. Reading on Zavel. After the Yuan Emperor's departure, Chancellor Hu Xiu took over the proceedings. Everyone here represents the finest heavenly prides of Morijin. You have now discovered the secrets of the stars. Those aspiring to travel to the stars will from today onward become members of the Celestial Strategy Army. In 3 days, I will guide you to the Morijin treasure vault to choose something, before we proceed to the great wilderness for demon slaying. After concluding, Hu Xiu and other celestial humans from the imperial court took their leave. Meanwhile, Lu Yun was summoned privately by the Yuan Emperor. The Yuan Emperor smiled at Lu Yun. Xiahou Shu briefed me several months ago about your accomplishments in the demon suppression army. But seeing you now, I can say you're even more excellent than Xiahou Shu described. At the peak of the Rune Seed realm, you already have the preliminary combat power of a celestial human. Even in that place, you will certainly be the foremost emperor-level heavenly pride. Thank you for your compliment, Your Majesty, but I was merely fortunate in obtaining the body refining technique, Lu Yun modestly replied. The Yuan Emperor shook his head. Your aptitude and fortune are what allowed you to cultivate this technique. Not many heavenly prides of Morijin have been successful in doing so. Many years ago, well, let's not get into that. Lu Yun looked up to catch a glimpse of melancholy in the all-enigmatic Yuan Emperor's eyes. He could not help guessing that the Yuan Emperor might have also desired to cultivate this technique, but had ultimately failed. Your Majesty, you mentioned Emperor-level heavenly pride earlier. Are there divisions amongst heavenly prides? A mixture of curiosity and confusion filled Lu Yun's eyes. The infinite starry sky contains countless worlds. Morijin is but a grain in the sea, not even a speck of dust. Of course, amidst this boundlessness, there are countless heavenly prides, some of whom can even challenge opponents 2 or 3 realms stronger. The ones capable of challenging a realm higher than their own can barely be considered geniuses. Heavenly prides, on the other hand, have skip 2 combat power. Those with skip 3 combat power are kings of heavenly prides, or king-level heavenly prides. Skip 4 combat power corresponds to emperor-level heavenly prides. Afterward, there are emperor-level heavenly prides, saint-level heavenly prides, and supreme-level heavenly prides. The Yuan Emperor paused before speaking with complexity in his eyes. In the big worlds of the starry sky, there are countless emperor-level and even saint-level heavenly prides. Upon hearing this, Lu Yun was shocked and asked tremblingly, Your Majesty, doesn't that mean a supreme-level heavenly pride would possess skip 7 combat power? As of now, even though he had been cultivating the divine elephant suppressing prison strength and the great sun undying golden body, he barely possessed skip 5 combat power. The Yuan Emperor shook his head. Skip 7 combat power is merely the threshold for supreme-level heavenly prides. He looked at Lu Yun and burst into laughter. You've only just begun to cultivate that body-refining technique, and yet you possess such tremendous combat power. In the future, you could very well reach skip 7 combat power and become a supreme-level heavenly pride. Among all people, only the Yuan Emperor was aware of just how astonishing the divine elephant suppressing prison strength that Lu Yun was practicing was. Skip 7 combat power. Lu Yun mumbled before breaking into a bitter smile. Though he had not yet reached his limit, the prospect of attaining skip 7 combat power was immensely challenging. Digressing again, let's fulfill the promise made to you now. The Yuan Emperor said, Tell me, which treasure would you like? Saber, spear, sword, halberd, axe, and hook. You can freely choose. Lu Yun pondered. He'll take a saber. At his current realm, whatever weapon he wielded would be at his command, but he always felt that a saber was the most dominant. A saber? The Yuan Emperor let out a smile, then waved his robe. A dazzling light flashed, and a treasure saber emanating a bloody aura appeared before Lu Yun. This saber is known as Blood Slaughter, a superior treasure. once an heirloom of a certain sect. Since it entered the Mori-jin treasure vault, it has not appeared for almost 1,000 years. You have amassed a substantial amount of evil chi in your body, making you the ideal candidate for this saber. Thank you, Your Majesty, Lu Yun responded. Upon receiving the blood-slaughter blade, he caressed it fondly before stowing it away. Here is something else, some information about the infinite starry sky. You can go back and read it. The Yuan Emperor handed Lu Yun a jade scroll before dismissing him. Having found temporary quarters in the heavenly Pride Hall, Lu Yun started to examine the jade scroll given to him by the Yuan Emperor. Upon opening, countless words surfaced before his eyes. Looking at these words, a deep gleam flashed in Lu Yun's eyes. This was the core secret, unknown even to the patriarchs of the super families, apart from the Yuan Emperor. So, these are the secrets of the starry sky. With anticipation, Lu Yun absorbed all the information contained in the scroll. Even though the information about the infinite starry sky was meager, it unveiled the veiled mysteries of the Milky Way for the first time. The infinite starry sky, otherwise known as all heavens and myriad realms. How vast are the all heavens and myriad realms? Infinite and limitless. The Jade Scroll that the Yuan Emperor gifted Lu Yun contains scarcely any information regarding all heavens and myriad realms. Even the data pertaining to the territorial boundaries of the human race was scanty, according to the available data. There are roughly 3,000 big worlds in all heavens and myriad realms, each being home to countless medium and small worlds. Below these small worlds are the newly birthed lands. These newly birthed lands, which had just emerged, would gradually inhabit life after tens to hundreds of thousands of years. Each one of these emerging lands holds the opportunity to become a saint, attracting countless strong individuals. Chapter 565, Chapter 565, Chapter 300, Mori-jin Treasury, 7, Color Divine Fruit _2, Chapter 565, Chapter 300, Mori-jin Treasury, 7 Color Divine Fruit _2 Lease, reading on Zavel. As for this region of Mori-jin, it was the place of origin, discovered by chance by the Yuan Emperor. The first generation primordial emperor came from the black-yellow Great World. Among the 3,000 Great Worlds, there are countless races, and the human race is just one of them. The most powerful 100 races divide the 3,000 Great Worlds among themselves. All other races are their vassals. As one of the top races among the 10,000 races, the human race naturally occupied more than one great world. The black-yellow Great World was one of the human race's territories. Mori-jin, this side of the heaven and earth, is one of the places of origin derived from the black-yellow Great World. After completely digesting this information, Lu Yun felt that the mist that had always shrouded his eyes had somewhat dispersed. Black-yellow Great World. Lu Yun will be coming soon. 3 days later, when Lu Yun appeared in Skywall City Square, there were just over 30,000 heavenly prides gathered. Compared to all the heavenly prides who had ascended to Skywall City, it was only a third. This was not surprising. After all, going to the starry sky faced too many dangers and uncertainties. Duguju, Yixingxuan, Nangong Shui, Xiaoheng, Xiaoyun. Lu Yun saw these slightly familiar faces, and, of course, Qin Feng, who had entered the imperial city with him. Spatial ripples emerged, and a spatial channel appeared above the square, not knowing where it led to. Inside is the Mori-jin Treasure Pavilion, containing countless treasures, whether weapons or pills. If you can find them, they're yours. However, the time is limited to 2 hours, and each person can only take one item. Hu Xiu said, his gaze sweeping across all the heavenly prides present. Thank you, Prime Minister Hu. After Lu Yun and others bowed slightly to Hu Xiu, they entered the spatial channel. After entering the spatial channel, everyone appeared in a strange world. Here, the heavenly and earthly spiritual chi was extremely rich, and various spirit grass and spirit herbs grew everywhere, emitting an attractive fragrance. And on the towering trees surrounding them, various spiritual fruits grew, and from afar, people couldn't help but want to take a bite. If it weren't for the fact that each person could only take one treasure, many heavenly prides would not be able to resist. Wow, this place looks like a paradise. A female heavenly pride couldn't help but exclaim at this beautiful world. Even Lu Yun nodded slightly. This place was even more secluded than Spirit Creek Village, and the spiritual chi was rich, making it an excellent place for cultivation and completely unrelated to Meridian's treasure. Boom! Just then, a rumbling sound suddenly came from the sky, and everyone looked up to see a golden light group flying. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soon, there were numerous golden light groups flying in the sky. This should be the treasures. Everyone, may the best person win. One heavenly pride's expression was fiery, turning into a rainbow light, swiftly chasing after one of the light groups. The rest of the heavenly prides also transformed into streaks of light, each flying towards a golden light group. Ah, there's a glowing boulder over there. At this moment, a sudden cry broke out. All the heavenly pride's eyes were drawn to it, and they could see a huge boulder cracking open, with bright light emanating from the cracks, the shattered stone revealing a treasure. It was a sword, its sword body crystal clear and radiant, just over 3 feet long, emitting a brilliant glow wrapped with many runes and making a thunderous sound. The scene was extremely terrifying. My God, it's a treasure artifact. One of the nearest heavenly prides quickly rushed forward, trying to subdue it, but the saber had just revealed its terrifying edge, instantly tearing apart the body of that heavenly pride, and he screamed in pain. Such a peerless saber. How could the weak of the Rune Seed Realm late stage obtain it? After recovering from the shock, other heavenly prides sneered, then rushed forward. However, with a clang, the sword turned into a rainbow light and rushed into the sky. Chase! The heavenly prides who had ideas about this sword all burst out terrifying speed and chased after it. We'd better look somewhere else. There may be more valuable treasures. As all the heavenly prides fired up, they scattered in all directions. Lu Yun felt that his eyes were not enough to keep up, as golden light groups flew chaotically in the sky, dazzling and bewildering, with heavenly prides chasing after each other. However, because they were only allowed to take one item from the treasure pavilion, he didn't act for the time being. He came to an open mountain top with various huge stones lying horizontally, emitting various pearl and treasure lights. Entering the depths of the boulder forest, not only was it awe-inspiring, with various intricate runes and patterns on it, there were likely powerful treasure artifacts hidden inside. Lu Yun tried to open them all and inspect the treasures inside, but his power had no effect on them. His plot in mind had failed, and Lu Yun's face was full of frustration. It seems that obtaining the treasures here depends entirely on chance. Force won't work. Lu Yun shook his head and smiled bitterly, then stepped forward to grab a golden light group in the sky. These golden light groups were extremely fast, disappearing in the blink of an eye, and their trajectories were unpredictable. It was very difficult to catch one, and so far, none of the heavenly prides had succeeded. But Lu Yun was not on the same level as these heavenly prides, and he succeeded in capturing a golden light group with one move.